There we go, chat. Oh my God, it's done. Dude, that was like 3 hours. Holy crap. All right, so I have here a list of every category I have streamed in 2023. And we did this at the end of 2022. Y'all seem to like it. We're gonna do it again. All right, there's 86 games here. So apparently I played at least 86 games in 2023. And we are going to rank them. All right, it is time. Now, categories. I've got S tier. I'm hooked. They laced that game with something. I cannot put it down. That is the S tier. A, I finished it. I loved it. It was great. B, I finished it. It was fun. C, I finished it. D, I didn't finish it, but it was fun. You know, maybe it was a time issue. Maybe I was just like, okay, I don't have room in the schedule for this, but it was fun what I did play. E, I didn't finish it because something was bad about it. I didn't finish it for negative reasons. All right. F, early access. Even if I loved it, I don't think it's fair to put something in S tier if it's not done. So early access is down there. Now, not all of these games were released in 2023. Some of these are just games I played in 2023. So let's go ahead and get started. Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is the game I am most known for. I've made over 100 video guides for that game. That game made you. I put it in S tier last year, and I'm going to put it in S tier again. However, I would say it's lower in S tier than last year. Now, it is still a fantastic game. It is still a wonderful game. However, there was a new expansion in 2023, Secrets of the Obscure. I do like the expansion, but the expansion released a thing called Weapon Master Training. It allows any class specialization to use the weapons of its other specializations. So like a Reaper can use a greatsword. Reaper's a necromancer, it can use greatsword. A Harbinger is a type of necromancer that can use a pistol. Now, the Necro can use pistol or greatsword without using either of those, and the Reaper can use a pistol, and the Harbinger can use a greatsword. And essentially, because of this thing, there is between 80 and 90 new combinations of class got weapon it didn't have before. They did not balance that before releasing that. And honestly, it would have been insane for them to be able to. And right now, although I love this game, I still love it. The PvP in this game is, in my opinion, the worst it's been in the 5 years I've been covering the game. I tried to play it again last night, and again, I played one game that was decent. I played another game, and we found people that were just one-shotting each other. It was like an FPS. I think the game's balance, there's been times where this has been OP or that's been underperforming, but right now, I think that it just sorely needs a hard-handed balance patch. That said, that is the PvP scene. There is still also World v World, there's raids, there's strikes, there's fractals, there's open world, there's other game modes. I still think all of those are a blast. It doesn't matter if someone's doing insane damage for 5 seconds that then tapers off when you're fighting a raid boss that takes 10 minutes to kill. So I would like to see them handle that one situation I pointed out, but it is still S tier for me, but I would say S minus. So that's where I'm gonna put that. All right, Age of Wonders 4. Age of Wonders 4 is a game, I believe they call it a 4X type game. It's like Civilization, it's like a Civ game if there was magic and dragons and stuff like that. I'm gonna say, A minus or B plus. I'll be generous and put it here, but it's very fun. Later, they added more content updates. They added a dragon update where you can play as a dragon instead of as a lord. Instead of like a dude or a gal that's ruling a nation, you are a dragon ruling a nation. It's got some cool mechanics, like since a dragon can't use like armor and helmets and stuff like that, basically the more you get, it adds to your horde, and you get bonuses based on how big your horde is, and it's just like equipment in a pile. But it was a very cool game. Loved it. Yeah, Dragon Daddy Mukluk. The Adventures of Dragon Daddy Mukluk. That's right. It's an awesome game. Every time there's been a content patch, I've played on the new patch, and because it's like Civ, one round of this game would be many, many hours long. It was a very fun game. Definitely putting it right there. I'd say the weakest point of it is the story. It's basically just like you're playing and then boom, here's a page of text. And then you're playing and boom, here's a page of text. There's like the pacing, it's like the story is kind of dry. And like the first time I beat it, I remember it was doing a closing cinematic and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I was trying to follow it, but it kind of felt like in school when you like read something you're not interested in and then you're at the end, you're like, I don't remember anything I just read. You have to reread it. It felt like that. The gameplay though, excellent. I loved it. Wonderful game. Alan Wake 2. Very high A tier. The only reason I'm not putting it in S is because I don't really have the urge to play it again. Alan Wake 2, of course, the sequel to Alan Wake 1, and it was amazing. It was amazing. However, most of it was the storytelling and the cinematography. It was an incredible, like they won some stuff at the Game Awards. Incredible game. If you like a good story and you haven't already, I encourage you to play Alan Wake 1 then Alan Wake 2. The only downside to it, as I would say, is it's a huge cliffhanger. There is apparently going to be an Alan Wake 3 at some point. Alan Wake 2 ended on a massive cliffhanger, and it was the kind that had me scream. I hadn't yelled at a cliffhanger like that since I saw Matrix 2 in theaters, and then there was that ending, and some dude in the audience like, "Oh, come on!" and just yelled at the screen, and we were all like, "Yeah," because we realized we had to wait like 2 years to find out what happens next. So I did really, really enjoy Alan Wake 2, mostly because of the story. The gameplay was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either, but it was mostly about the story. But the story was amazing. All right, The Bunker. And I think this is Amnesia The Bunker, but it's cropped a little bit. I played this for Halloween. I don't like scary games. I play them because my chat likes watching me not like scary games. There's a huge difference. There's a massive difference between me liking and them liking me not liking, okay? So I played this as one of many games I played during October for spooky stuff. This one was spooky. It was about some people in wartime, and they were in a bunker, and some guy goes crazy, and he uses TNT and caves in the entrance. The bunker's underground, and there was an entrance leading to the surface, and they caved in the entrance. Now, they were near enemy lines, so they decided to basically tunnel underneath the enemy lines and try to hit them in the back. Or maybe, I think they might have been digging the tunnel before the entrance got caved in. And they accidentally break into this room where an ancient artifact is sealed, and then everyone starts going crazy and killing each other. And I won't tell you the big twist at the end, as that's not my goal. But it was a very spooky game. There was a whole lot of you're out of fuel, so you can't keep your lamp lit, and now the monster's coming for you, and if you make noise, the thing can hear you, and things like that. It was scary. I got through it. All right, Armored Core Fires of Rubicon. What number Armored Core was this? I can't even remember. Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. Armored Core 6 was my first ever giant robot game. It was a lot of fun. The actual gameplay was very, very fun. There was this one thing about it I'm honestly like high B or low A tier for me. It did this thing where you had to beat the game, then you started over and you had to beat it again, but there was a couple of new missions. And then you started over again and you had to beat the whole game a third time. And there was a couple of new missions to see all the endings. And so it was like, to see 10% of the new content, you had to replay the other 90%. I didn't like that. Forcing me to replay, 10 hours to get one new hour of thing, I don't think is great design. However, the actual gameplay of it was such crazy fun. Like zipping around in the giant robot. I made mine dummy thick. He had big fat tank treads on there. It was great. Also, I played one round of PvP and I beat everybody, and then I quit. So I'm untied, undefeated. So you honestly can't touch me on the Armored Core 6 PvP ladder. Like I'm at the top, and I will not go down from there. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This was in the 2022 tier list as well, because it's such a long freaking game. If you did every side quest in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I think it's over 200 hours long. When I was playing the game, the first zone, I was like, oh, I'm gonna 100% every single quest I found I was doing. And after like 10 or 20 hours, I saw the world map and I saw the size of it, and then I saw the size of the zone I had been in, and I realized, I was like, oh my god, if I keep doing this is gonna be like 200 hours. And it was fun. I was dual wielding shields. I was literally shield bashing people to death. It was insane. It was a fun game, but after 10 to 15 hours, I just started tunnel visioning the main quest line, and it took me 70 hours to beat it. If you like the type of game, it's a lot of content. However, at that point, it was so much, I really needed a break by then. So I just railroaded the main story, finished it, and then I put it down. It was fun, though. I'm going to put that in the B tier. It was fun. Atomic Heart with the Russian robot waifus. Atomic Heart, or Russian Bioshock, came out this year. Atomic Heart was a very fun game. You know, it plays... well, honestly, it honestly plays more like Skyrim than Starfield did. I mean, that pretends where I'm going to put Starfield. Atomic Heart was fun. When it came out, there was a whole lot of stigma about buying the game because like Russia and Ukraine and stuff like that. I don't know about any of that. I will say, just grading the game based on the game itself, it was a lot of fun. It had 2 endings. They were very much not like just cliffhanger, but they left it open to where they could add another game to it. I would love for them to do so. I would love to play another one. It was a very satisfying game to play. Like just using the tractor beam to like rip a room apart and like loot all the stuff and vacuum up all the stuff was a lot of fun. But very high B tier, probably right below Armored Core 6. High B tier. It was fun. What is the tier list for? The tier list, this is my thoughts on every game I played in 2023, Banana. If for you to disagree, yeah, it's for you to disagree with. That's right. All right. Baldur's Gate 3. Oh my God, what a piece of crap. No. S tier. All right, so I played 200 hours of Baldur's Gate 3. And I feel like at this point, it's like almost, it's so mainstream to say you like it. Like you can't be a hipster in Starbucks and like Baldur's Gate 3 because that's the mainstream thing. It's well deserved. They won so many awards and they deserved it. Like this game for so many reasons. Like one, there's like you freaking find a chair in that game. You can sit in the chair, you can punch and destroy the chair, you could set fire to the chair, you could throw the chair at someone, you could steal the chair, you might even be able to eat the chair. I'm not sure, but it's like every single thing in the game. There's like a dozen ways, branching paths that you can interact with it and go from there. To the point where like something that was a party member in my game might have been a boss in your game. Like there's so many divergent paths. And the fact that every single conversation was a cutscene, oh man, it made people just fall in love with the characters. I've had so many people pop into my stream when I'm playing other CRPGs, such as Rogue Trader, and they'll be like, hey, really got into CRPGs just because of Baldur's Gate 3. Do you think I would like this? And I'm like, Baldur's Gate 3 was a masterpiece. You might like this. The story in this game is also great. However, it's not Baldur's Gate 3. In Baldur's Gate 3, every single fight, every single conversation was basically a cinematic. In most CRPGs, there's reading, so you're going from book with pictures to book. So yeah, you might love this as long as you're okay with that. I've had this conversation a lot with folks, but Baldur's Gate 3, I'm right this second, I'm personally burned out on it just because I have played 200 hours. I did 2 full playthroughs, a good one and an evil one with Dark Dennis, and they were amazing. And they're both on Mukluk Plays if you want. Oh, the playthroughs of all of these are on Mukluk Plays if any of you want to watch them. But yeah, wonderful game. I believe it deserves all the accolades it's getting. And honestly, as someone who's been enjoying Larian's products since Divinity Original Sin 1, it is really nice to see them get what I feel is the recognition they deserved. They've been popping off. Bendy and the Dark Revival. And also Bendy and the Ink Machines. That's Bendy 1 and Bendy 2. I'm going to put... These were spooky games for October, but very cool story too. I am going to put these in... I finished it, and it was fun. If they ever make another Bendy game, I would jump at the chance to play another one. Like, it was, kind of spooky, but also really good story and engaging and stuff like that, and it kept me engaged the entire time. But yeah, it's basically, you know, Bendy is based off like the old timey animation, like black and white Mickey Mouse and Popeye and stuff like that. And basically, you know, you're investigating this guy that, you know, drew these cartoons and what's going on in his shop. And there is an ink machine in there, and that's how it all begins. And you get sucked down into the cartoon world with these creatures that were made in our imaginations. But yeah, this very cool game, cool story. It's not terribly long, if memory serves. Let me see. Bendy the Ink Machine was 4 hours. Dark Revival was 6. So yeah, you could tear through both of them on a weekend if you are into it. But they were good story and a little spooky at the same time. Beyond Contact. Beyond Contact was an interesting game. Beyond Contact was a game I was sponsored to play 2 hours of. I liked it, and I tried to finish it. However, I couldn't. I hit a bug in the game, and so I just stopped. I couldn't continue. It was either start over, or so I played 12 hours. I was paid. They paid me to play 2 hours, and I went another 10, and then I could not continue. So I'm gonna say I couldn't finish it because of bugs. Now, what it was basically like, there was an NPC and you had to talk to them to turn in a quest to continue. And I talked to them and it turned in some item I had in my inventory for a quest later on. And then the game bugged out thinking I was past the point I actually was because of there's like a quest flag. And then I couldn't continue. And then they fixed they fixed it so no one else would have that problem, but it wasn't a retroactive change, so I'd like start over. But it's an interesting game. It's kind of like, it's a survival game, but it's also kind of like a roguelike. Because like if you, as you play the game, you go out, you find resources on the ground, you harvest them, pick them up, and you build a base, and you know you have to occasionally get oxygen and food, and you pick up resources and build an outpost. You can make like laser turrets and stuff like that. So it's very survival-esque, but at the same time, if you die, there's this alien pylon that'll bring you back to life one time. And each pylon you find in the world will bring you back to life one time. And if you run out of, and there's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them. But if you die enough times that you lose all that, you have to start over. So it's like a roguelike survival. It was kind of cool. I liked it. I didn't love it. But the only reason I didn't finish it is because I ran into that bug thing and I wasn't willing to start it over. So that's where I have to put that one. Black Skylands. Again, a game I was sponsored to play 2 hours of, and I was like, this is cool, I'm gonna finish it. So Black Skylands, it took me about 14 hours to clear the whole game. And there's my video. I did a review video on it, showing it to other people for those interested. It's a top-down shooter. So it almost looked like a, kind of like a pixel art type game. Let me see if I go here, just, pictures, 1,000 words, stuff like that. But this is what it looked like. So it's like steampunk, and the world as we know it is basically like chunks of land floating in the clouds, and you use a ship to get around, but between these islands. And you can customize your own loadout. You can customize your ship's loadout. You have like, different artifacts and stuff that will help you out. And it was pretty cool. It was a simple game. It played like, something that's a little bit fancier than like an old Flash game, something like that. But it was a pretty good story. The story it kept me engaged too. And the gameplay was fun. I'd say it was fun. So I'm going to say I finished it and was fun. Bloons TD6. Now, I don't think you can really finish Bloons. So I'm just going to say I love Bloons. Bloons is great. Bloons is great fun. I mean, everyone knows what Bloons is. You put monkeys down and you pop balloons. My son and I have done a lot of co-op games of this where we basically, like, we've gotten good enough at it, we can routinely get to the levels in the hundreds where, because you get to level 100 and you've won. But you can hit free play and keep going, and it just keeps getting harder infinitely. And I don't know what the world record is, but you can get into the thousands or tens of thousands. But at that point, it's sending like, hundreds of thousands of balloons, and the game is lagging so very badly. So usually my son and I will play for a couple of hours, and it gets to the point where we cannot move anymore, and then we're just like, all right, let's just stop. Like, we can't do anything else. But it's fun doing different builds, and every tower shows how many pops that it's gotten, how many kills it's gotten, so you can try different things and min-max and see, like, okay, oh, this works good, oh, that doesn't work good, stuff like that. Very fun game. Bramble. Bramble the Mountain King. Bramble was a game we played for Halloween. It was supposed to be a spooky game. Took about 4 hours to beat it. Ended up, the final fight was the Mountain King. You know that song? And it just keeps getting faster. The final boss fight was in tune with that. So the boss fight kept getting faster as the music got faster. And we were laughing and cutting up, and we were, dude, I was getting splattered all over the place. And dude, we were like bobbling and stuff. It was great. So like that was the final fight. I'm gonna remember it forever. It was wild. The actual game, I would not say it was scary. I would say it was based off dark fairy tales. Like there was a bunch of stuff in there. So I would say I finished it and it was fun. Like, again, I don't like horror games. I actually ended up enjoying this one because it was a fun game, and the ending we were all dying laughing at. But the actual game, like the majority of the game, was just a fun, dark adventure. Bug Fables. Bug Fables, in a few words or less, Paper Mario. I never played a game like that. I had a Patreon. I have a tier on my Patreon that's kind of like sponsoring a stream, but it's much cheaper than what the advertisers usually pay me. And basically, it allows someone in my chat, if they choose to buy that tier, they can say, hey, I want you to play this game for a night. And they can hijack the stream for one day. So we tried out Bug Fables. Now, Bug Fables was fun. I played it the whole day, and I totally fine with completing it. However, just in terms of priority, there were other games I was enjoying more at the time that we played this. So I kind of put it like to the side, and I never got around to getting back to it. So I didn't finish it, but that's not because I didn't like it. I just kept prioritizing other stuff more. So I'm going to say I didn't finish it, but it was fun, and I still might finish it at some point. But yeah, it's like a Paper Mario type adventure, but with little bugs that talk. Choo Choo Charles. Again, played it for Halloween. It was meant to be a spooky game. It's really not. I mean, when you hear the tray, woo woo, you hear that coming when it's still a mile away, and then it comes running up on you. And yeah, it's horrifying looking with its giant spider legs and stuff like that. But also, you have a gun. You shoot it and you can scare it off. And I gotta say, it's a lot less scary in horror games when you can shoot back. So it was, the story was, the story was, wow, that's a spooky train. That's it. That's the story. Man, that is a spooky train. So I'm just gonna put it under finished it. It wasn't that scary. It was just a dark, funny game. If memory serves, that one was pretty short. Let me see. How much was 2.6 hours? Yeah, that one was a short one. But yeah, it was a fun little adventure for one day. Conan Exiles: Age of War. Okay, Conan Exiles: Age of War. That game, again, I was sponsored to play it for 2 hours, and we played it one day on stream. It was basically like more hardcore and more naked Valheim. It was fun. I could totally see it as a game where if I was in the mood to play a game, a survival game like Valheim, with other people, I would be absolutely fine doing like multiplayer Conan Exiles and play it for tens of hours. At the time that I did the sponsored stream, I was also simultaneously playing Valheim with my son. So I was already in the middle of playing a game that was like the exact same type of genre. So I didn't end up putting more hours into this one because of that reason. But I'll say I didn't finish it, but it was fun while I played it. Crosscode. Oh my god, what a piece of crap. Okay, no. So, all right, so Crosscode. Crosscode was a game. Shugo in our community sponsored me to play that one for a night. I actually went more than that, okay? Like, he sponsored me to play it for one evening, and I ended up playing it for 15 hours. Now, Crosscode was actually, the story was so good. The story was so good, okay? And that was definitely the strongest point of it. The gameplay was what had me finally, like, I was like, I gotta stop. And the reason was a couple things. One, combat, you see how fast she's shooting? To do that, I was playing keyboard and mouse. I had to do that. I basically had to just beat the living hell out of the left click button on my mouse non-stop for hours on end. So that was the how to keep attacking. So I hated that. I wish it would just be like hold down the button or something, but no, I had to tap 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 tap. That was the worst part. The other thing, there was the talent tree was awesome. None of the equipment changed how your character looked, which was kind of a pain, annoying. The other thing was the puzzles. The puzzles were fine. You know, it would be like you have to shoot a bouncing ball around a room. You have to freeze waterfalls so that the ball bounces off the waterfalls. And sometimes you have to get rid of a waterfall, so you'd have to hit those with a fireball so it turns into steam for a few seconds. So you'd have to be like ice, 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 fire, fire, bounce, bing, 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 objective. You know, and that, it was you know, a lot of puzzles that involve timers and stuff like that, and it honestly just stressed me out. So we played like 15 hours, and the combination of the timed puzzles and the having to destroy my mouse to play the game, I was getting kind of frustrated. Again, though, the storytelling in this game was so good. And if there's anything that makes me miss it and think about possibly picking it back up, it was the storytelling. So I'm going to say I didn't finish it for the two negative reasons that I listed, but the storytelling makes me want to put it here. The gameplay makes me want to put it here. But that's the full story surrounding Crosscode, just to give it the fair assessment. Okay. Next up, Cult of the Lamb. So we reinstalled Cult of the Lamb because they did a new update. What was the... No, not Sins of the Flesh. What was it called? Relics of the Old Faith. Relics of the Old Faith came out. Also, this was after I played it. They did a Don't Starve collaboration. Relics of the Old Faith came out, which was a new update that added a whole bunch of new stuff to the game. So we jumped back into the cult that we had from before that had like Flute Girl and Arrows and stuff like that in there. And we picked, you know, I was rusty, so I had to kind of, you know, remember how to play. And then we went into the almost like New Game Plus content. It was a free update. It added, I don't remember exactly how much, but it added more playtime to the game. And it was good. The relics they added, some of them were completely busted. Like there was some relics that were completely insane. My kid was playing it too, and he got one where it would just like summon skeletons, and he would just like walk up to a boss, and he just had like 30 skeletons go and just kill the boss, and he would just stand in the corner. So some of them were absolutely wild. But yeah, it was a free update, and it was very fun. I'm actually gonna put that under loved it. It was wonderful. And they've got another. They're really hamming it up on Twitter about the nude update coming soon, or the Schmex update coming soon, because there's a new update coming out called Sins of the Flesh, and it's supposed to be inspired by like how you can use two Pokemon to like make an egg. And they said they were very careful with it, but they're hyping that up, and I'll probably play it again after that comes out. All right, Darkest Dungeon 2. Oh my god, we played a lot of... I think that one's on Epic. I don't have Epic open right now, and I'm not going to open it right now. Darkest Dungeon 2, I don't know exactly how much time I spent in it, but I beat the whole game, and then I liked it so much, I then started trying to beat it on the... there's a community challenge that's beat the whole game with no one dying. So you use the same 4 people and clear the entire game, and if anyone dies, you start over. And also I'll do it on the top difficulty. And I was actually at like the final boss, and then I got distracted by other things. So I could go back and try to finish that. But if I lose, then that's over. But I cleared the whole game. Very, very fun. And then I was so much fun that I wanted an excuse to play it more. So then I started trying to do community challenges. So I definitely have to put that in loved it. That was a wonderful, wonderful game. I should at least boot up the save file and see if I could beat the final boss, because that might be a video. Like, I took on the toughest community challenge in Darkest Dungeon 2. If you see that video soon, know that I finished it. Sibber says, did you play DD1? Yes. It was fun. I didn't play it as much as I did DD2. So Darkest Dungeon, well, I guess I still played it for 99 hours. I don't even, dude, it's a blur. I don't even remember playing this for 99 hours, but apparently I did. You know, oh, you know what? I do remember, because Darkest Dungeon 1, I never finished it. In fact, I think 1 or 2% of the player base that bought this game beat it. The whole thing with the original Darkest Dungeon is when you get to the final area, when you get to the Darkest Dungeon and you go in there, if your heroes either die or they get PTSD and they refuse to ever go back. So you have to level up a new team of heroes. It was this really dumb time sink. So like if you, it made it to where you wanted, it encouraged you to go to like Google and like look up a YouTube video of someone fighting the boss, because if you didn't one-shot the boss, you would have to spend like 10 hours leveling up another team to go fight the boss again. I hated that. It was an arbitrary time sink and it made it to where I felt like I couldn't do a blind playthrough, because if I didn't one-shot the boss, I had to go, I had to spend tens of hours preparing a new team to try again. So I definitely like Darkest Dungeon 2 way more than the first one. Okay, so next up, Darkwood. We played Darkwood for Halloween, similar to the other October spooky games. Darkwood is a game that very, very, very dark storytelling. You can see it looks like this. It's this top-down thing where you can see whatever is in the lit-up cone in front of you. You cannot see monsters in the dark area that is, say right here, there's shadows everywhere. Very cool ambiance, very creepy, despite the fact that you're zoomed out and up in the sky. Very, very creepy game. Now, the reason I didn't finish it, I got almost 6 hours in, is because if you die, you respawn back at like your base camp, and all the stuff you had is where you died. So you had to do basically corpse retrieval. And there's food, water, poison, oxygen, corpse retrieval. Like, it is brutal. So it's a spooky game, but sometimes you stop being scared because it gets so damn frustrating. So I was like, guys, I'm not even having fun anymore. I'm not even scared anymore. I'm just getting angry because I keep having to like run 10 miles because I stepped on a poison mushroom and died. So I didn't finish it. I stopped having fun with that one. So I have to put that in this. I have to put that in the E category. More like 80 isolation. Yeah, like that, like Valheim. In terms of corpse retrieval, yes, like Valheim. It was like that. All right, Days of Doom. Days of Doom it was cool. I did a sponsored stream for Days of Doom. We played 2 hours of Days of Doom, and here I'll show you what it is here. It is a game where you control a group of survivors, and they some of them have abilities, some of them are just normal folks that are fighting for their life. And it's like a turn-based roguelike strategy game. So you can see you take turns on this little chessboard-looking thing, take out the enemies, don't get killed, and if you die, sometimes you unlock new things that make your future runs better. Kind of like Hades in that one example, but turn-based and you're controlling a group. It was kind of fun. They sponsored me to play a couple hours of it. I did that. It was fun. But it wasn't something that I was like, okay, I'm going to stop playing Baldur's Gate 3 to play more of this. So I will say I didn't finish it, but it was fun. But it was a simple, fun game, and it just didn't compare to the other stuff I was playing at that time. That's the only reason I didn't do more of it. Dead Cells. I have not finished it. However, I have played a lot of it. You can play a lot of Dead Cells without finishing it. 42 hours. Plus the fact that I play with chat integration. And with chat integration, Twitch chat kills me. Like, all the times I've gotten the furthest that I've ever been in Dead Cells, I died because of chat. Not because of the actual game. So Dead Cells, I haven't finished it. I will say it's very fun. We sometimes play it on Mutiny Monday because of the chat integration. It is a enjoyable game. Chat in the Twitch chat, they can type in commands to take over the control of the boss, or take over control of my healing potions, or add modifiers to maps. Like one of them's called Hitchcock, and it adds a whole bunch of like murder birds to the map. Or you can double jump on this map, or there's poison everywhere, just stuff like that. It's pretty enjoyable. But it does get frustrating sometimes when they kill me 900 times. Didn't you say you didn't finish it? Well, okay. I have finished a run of Dead Cells, and then that unlocks New Game Plus. And then if you beat that, it unlocks New Game Plus Plus, and so on and so on. So I finished a basic run, but I have not finished the Plus run. So I'm going to put it there. All right. Dead Space. Dead Space that came out this year was of course the remake. They did like a remake, remaster, whatever of it. I had played the original, but it had been so long, I only remembered like the main bullet points of the story. So we played it again on stream. As far as a spooky game goes, again, spooky games aren't very spooky when you can shoot back. So it kind of feels more like you're playing Doom with a very dark story. It was fun. I'm gonna say it was a fun game. It was a fun game. What was this? Deus Ex Director's Cut. Which Deus Ex was this? So Deus Ex Human Revolution. So this is obviously an older game, 23 hours to beat it. When I played this, I thought I was playing a game like Doom. I was not. No, this is what's called a stealth game. And I gotta say, the very first fight in the game, dude, I died like 9 times. I was like, why am I so fragile? I was so confused. I did not understand that I really needed to get the drop on people at the beginning of the game. I was so fragile. Later on, I could go ham, but at the beginning of the game, oh my gosh. It was fine. I finished. It was something that it was on the game recommendation list. My community recommended it because they heard I never played it. I played it. It was kind of cool. All I remember is he says I didn't ask for this. I honestly. I remember at the end there was a decision that was like a not decision, and it has like no real effect on the ending at all. Because we YouTubed the other endings, and I was like, wait, this is all basically the same thing. So I'm just gonna say I finished it. It was fine. It was fine. Diablo 4. All right, D4. All right. For what it was fun, but less than every other Diablo before it. I'm not counting the mobile game one. I don't recognize that one. So as someone who played hundreds of hours of Diablo 1, thousands of hours of D2, probably hundreds of D3, and then I played D4. I've never put down a Diablo game faster. So D4. All right, let's talk about D4 really quickly. D4, I played it for the story. The actual gameplay was, like, I would rate it a 10 on the pH scale because it was hella basic. The actual gameplay, look, dude, there was no skill tree. There was a skill twig. All right? There was a skill stick, and it had a few stumps that were sticking out of the side of it. It was, oh my god. So it was like in Diablo 3, and if you were a wizard and you did summon Hydra, you could do Fire Hydra, Mammoth Hydra, Poison Hydra, Electric Hydra, Cold Hydra, Arcane Hydra. It could do your taxes, like all kinds of stuff. In D4, there was Summon Hydra with 3 heads or Summon Hydra with 4 heads. So the game had less skill diversity than D3. And within the talent tree, the talents, when you wanted to sink a bunch of points into a talent, you could only sink like 3 to 5 into most of them. In D2, you could put 20. With skill modifiers, 30, 40, 50, sometimes with charms. So it had less skill diversity than D3 and less ability to invest than D2. And okay, so the actual like gameplay, I played a Necromancer primarily because the Druid was an embarrassment to all Druidism. I played the Necro. It was fine. I will say, in Last Epoch, Early Access, the Necromancer at level 5 had more engagement than my Necromancer at the end of Diablo 4. The Bone Golem in Last Epoch would charge an enemy, check them with its shoulder, pick it up by the ankle, beat another enemy with it, and then throw the first dude off a cliff. And I was just like, oh my god, he beat a mother mucker with another mother mucker. Are you kidding me? And then in D4, you know what the bone golem does? That's it. Just bonk, 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 bonk. That's it. I just all bonk all day, all time. So it was pretty disappointing, to say the least. So what's left? You know, the game was beautiful. The art was amazing, very dark. The graphics, people knocked it out of the park. However, the story. I played it for the story. I have been following the story of Diablo since D1, since King Leoric's son got corrupted. I have been following it since then. And D4, I wanted to see what would happen. There was some cool stuff. There was callbacks to was it Mishif? There was callbacks to Leoric. There was callbacks to Cain. There's like a whole bunch of characters from the series were referenced. Duriel and Dariel, stuff like that. And those were all really cool moments because they hit me in the nostalgia. But the new stuff made no damn sense. Dude, at the end of it, the lady basically throws a soul stone like it's a Pokeball, and he goes like, Mephisto, I choose you. And he's like, okay, and does whatever she said. That's not how the soul stones work. That's not how they've ever worked. And then there was the scene where they put the demon soul stone inside of the one dude, and he got corrupted and turned into a demon in like 5 seconds. They had to put a soul stone into Leoric's son for like days and weeks to get Diablo, who was a much stronger demon, to take control of his body. But this dude with a weaker demon, and like I guess King Leoric's son was just an absolute shad, because this other dude who was older with a weaker demon got corrupted in seconds. And I was just like, that's not how any of this works. So as a story, most of the story was engaging, and again, the cinematography was, it was exquisite. The graphics were on par. The dark, gritty atmosphere was wonderful. It was just everything else that I was not fond of. So I'm gonna say I finished it. When I finished the story, I tried the end game content for like another hour or two, and I was like, I don't want to do any of this. And then I stopped. I haven't opened it since. I haven't had the urge to. And also, I think them making Diablo open world multiplayer was one of the worst decisions. It's just awful. I actually saw a screenshot the other day of Warcraft 3 but shout out to my man Grubby, by the way. Warcraft 3 had more viewers than Diablo 4 on some of the days since D4 came out. Okay. Dragon Age. We did a playthrough this year of the entire Dragon Age series. Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition. Loved it. Origins, I'm quite fond of all these. I had played these over 10 years ago, and they're supposed to be working on Dragon Age 4, Dreadwolf. And I wanted, as a streamer, I had never played them. So we played them again on stream. And we that took months. So we played all of those, and we're basically ready for Dreadwolf now. All wonderful games. If maybe you just got into CRPGs because of Baldur's Gate 3, Dragon Age Origins, by many nerds such as myself, is one of the greatest CRPGs of all time. It is a wonderful game, and it is dated, so the graphics are a little older, but it still plays very well, and the story is amazing. Also, Origins has one of the best party AI systems I've ever seen. Like, you can go to a character that you usually just have set to like, hey, just control yourself, do whatever. And you can tell them like, this move, spam it. This move, use it when the tank's health gets below 50%. This move, never use it. It's a waste of your mana. You can do that for every move, and just really engineer the other characters to play themselves the way you want them to play. Unfortunately, they took that system out and made it a lot worse for Inquisition, but it was really good in Origins and DA2. Matsu says, I'm watching your Mukluk plays Alan Wake 2, and the musical part was amazing. Yes, it was. I think they got an award for that. Dredge. All right, Dredge, once again, this is a game that I originally played because they sponsored me to play 2 hours. I cleared it. I played it all the way to the end, over 10 hours of gameplay. It's a game about fishing. Actually, I think they're doing a crossover with Dave the Diver now. But it's a game about fishing, and it's a Cthulhuian game. And honestly, it's kind of amazing that they successfully made a PG game about Cthulhu, and it was still really faithful to Cthulhu stuff. Like, that's impressive that they were able to do that while still keeping it PG. But it was a cool game. It's a game about fishing. I've done a review video for this if any of you are interested. You basically paddle around on a boat, you fish stuff up, you sell it, you get money, you upgrade your boat, and that's kind of the game loop. But you occasionally fish up things that are very wrong. Too many eyes, too many teeth, tentacles, things like that. And, you know, it gets spookier and spookier, and then there's a mystery, and then you get to the bottom of it while you're playing it. It was a fun little game. It was definitely a fun game. So I am going to put it here. Fishing in general is something that I'm not passionate about in my video games, so that alone it gives it a rough starting point for me. But the fact that I had fun despite that, I think really talks about how good the Dredge is. Let's see. Dungeon Defenders 2. And okay, so Dungeon Defenders Awakened added a Twitch integration. They added Twitch integration, so every few minutes people in chat could vote on something. And we tried it out for Mutiny Monday one day. And as someone who's played Dungeon Defenders 2, and Dungeon Defenders Awakened, Dungeon Defenders Awakened felt like a step down from DD2. Dungeon Defenders Awakened had it was missing a bunch of features that DD2 had. The integration was cool, but sometimes it was insane. Like, chat would vote, spawn a boss. Then I'd be fighting the boss, and they'd vote, make the boss invisible. And I couldn't see it, and then I'm dead. And then I respawn, and I'm dead. And I respawn, and I'm dead. And I have no idea where it is, and I'm dead again. And I'm just like, ah! Like, it was... Some of the stuff that they were allowed to vote on was so insanely one-sided, I couldn't play the game. I would have to just, like, Alt F4 out of it. So, I love the idea of the integration, but Dungeon Defenders Awakened, besides the integration, felt like a worse game than DD2. So I'm gonna say I didn't finish it. However, it kind of gave me the itch to play a good Dungeon Defenders game again. And then off stream, I played DD2 for like 200 hours because this game got me reinvigorated to play a good one of these. So I'm just gonna put that there. Here, hang on a second. Let's see, Dungeon Defenders 2. Yeah, 257 hours because I got reinvigorated to play the good one. All right, so that one wasn't on stream, but yeah, definitely putting that there. Actually, you know what? Boom. I'm putting it in. Loved it. I love it. Dungeons 4. All right, Dungeons 4, obviously the fourth game of the Dungeon series, just came out a couple months ago. It is for those who don't know what it is, a Dungeons 4, it's a dungeon builder underground, but on the surface world, it's an RTS. So underground, you dig out a dungeon, you lay traps, you design rooms that like train new units, and you go to the surface and you play an RTS game. It is also the...
Forward,
what is it doing? Shut up. I cannot get this to stop. There we go. Then the voice, the narrator, is the same guy that did the Stanley Parable. It's the same narrator from Stanley's Parable, so he's really fun. He makes a lot of insults and jokes and stuff through the whole game. It was very enjoyable. If you're looking for a really like top tier new RTS to play, it's honestly not it. The RTS element is very simple. It's more about like you just plan a good group composition and throw it at the enemy, and maybe throw in a few spells on top of your troops to keep them alive. The responsiveness of the units were not that of like StarCraft 2 Marines. You can't, do splits and stuff like that with the units or orb walking. So if you're looking for that, it's not that, but it is a very fun game. Lot of comedy, good RTS, great dungeon builder. For me, I loved it. I beat the game and then started replaying it, doing achievements just as an excuse to play more of it because I liked it so much. So played a lot of Dungeons 4 this year. Dyson Sphere Program. Dyson Sphere Program is a game where you build across multiple planets. You're making like SimCity and stuff like that. However, there's no combat in the game. So I avoided playing this for a long time because I was afraid I would get bored of it. And then they added this, the Dark Fog. And it's like a very angry AI that is constantly multiplying And it's like the Borg, sort of, but yeah, they're multiplying and they attack you, and then they added weapons to fight back. So you still make factory worlds like Factorio, but you have to fight back against this thing that's multiplying across all of space. And I was like, now I really want to try it. And it's been pretty cool. It's an early access. This game's not done yet. And you can see right here, and see that this is the character you play. It looks like Bumblebee, and then he's got a fleet of stuff around him. But I have played 48 hours, and I'm going to be playing more of this tonight. Very fun game. I'm going to put it in the early access category, but if they told me like what you have now is the complete version, I would put it in loved it. It is a game where I felt like I had an advantage playing it after Factorio, because Factorio taught me a lot about this type of thing. But at the same time, at the beginning, I had some frustrations because there was some things I couldn't do in it that I could do in Factorio, and I was getting confused. Like there is blueprints that you can make, and basically like imagine you could make a base and design it just how you want it, and then just highlight it and hit copy and then paste it on another world. You can do that, but the way to do that is completely different from Factorio, which confused me greatly and frustrated me for a while. However, 40 hours later, now that I have gained a better understanding of the game's systems, I am having so much fun. I'm having so much fun playing it. And I'm at the point now where I've got like my main world is pretty protected. I've got this, this alien force that's occasionally attacking me from space. I have some outposts on other worlds that are sending they're mining and sending supplies back to the main world. They're not as protected, so I'm a little worried about those and stuff like that. An absolutely massive, massive game. But yeah, putting it in early access, it's not done, but ever since the combat update, loving it. And again, the reason I waited for the combat update is I played Satisfactory, which didn't have combat. You just play as much as you want, and I got bored of it. Because there was no pushback. I could literally just there would be some hostile monsters, but you could literally just walk up past them, ignore them while they were biting you, build a mine, and then leave, and then it would stop attacking you and just go on about your day. Everspace 2. I did a review of this game, a review video. I'm gonna say it was fun. It was one of the only games I've played less than 5 flight simulator games, and that's what this was. Everspace 2 was a game where you would fly around in space. You would I played 33 hours of this. You would fly around on ships and do like space battles. There was a story element that was pretty good, but it was always told in conversations on the radio or in cutscenes. There was no gameplay outside the ship. You were always in the ship. Like you would maybe fly into like a flying city, pull into a dock, and then you would see like a cinematic play out where you leave the ship and talk to them, but then you'd be back on the ship by the end of the cinematic. But it was really, really fun. It was really good. You got to buy new ships, customize, like there was dozens of different ship frameworks, like for the main thing, like you could anything from really fast but really light armor to really heavy armor but really big and slow and bulky, and you can change their abilities and missiles and weapon loadouts and stuff like that. But all in all, it was a fun game with a good story, and it got me interested in a genre that I wasn't even into. So I would say, I wasn't like, oh my God, yes, this is my new passion. I'm going to make videos on this. It wasn't that, but it was very, very enjoyable, and definitely it was fun. Good music. It had amazing music. Yes, absolutely. All right, God of Weapons. All right, let's talk about Vampire Survivors. If you loved Vampire Survivors, God of Weapons... Wait, is God of Weapons in beta? God of Weapons might still be in early access. Okay, I guess it's completely out. All right, so God of Weapons is a game similar to Vampire Survivors. However, every weapon you have basically floats around you and fights constantly. Every time you get enough XP to level up, you get to expand your inventory by 1 space. The more weapons you can fit in your inventory, the more weapons you have fighting. All you do during the fights is focus on your movements, similar to Vampire Survivors. The weapons fight on their own. However, certain things, like a sword, might get a bonus for every sword it's touching in your inventory. So if you can get a whole bunch of swords in a row, they would all passively buff each other. And then you might find a potion that's like, if you drink this, it will immediately spawn a boss, but if you beat it, you'll then be stronger after that. stuff like that. And yeah, it just shows a guy with a big bag of weapons. Very simple game, very inexpensive. Like right now it's $5. But it was very, very fun. I have played 24 hours of it. Definitely recommend. This was a very fun game. I honestly, I'm going to say loved it for now. While we're talking about games that type, let's go to another one. Halls of Torment. Halls of Torment was another game of that same genre as like Vampire Survivors. So if I go to Halls of Torment, however, this game to me was Vampire Survivors plus Diablo 1. So you see, you go through here, it's got very retro graphics, but the game runs incredibly smoothly. You pick from multiple heroes, and then, but you can find items. So it's Vampire Survivors, but with an inventory. Now the items, there's a thing in the levels called a well, and if you take an item you find and throw it in the bucket in the well, a guy in town pulls it up, and you lose that item for that run, but then you can take that item on all future runs. So you can basically make loadouts of your favorite things and take those with you. Again, very cheap game, $3.99. It's $4 right now. It is an early access, so to be fair, I will put it into the early access section. But if it wasn't there, I would put it in Loved It right next to God of Weapons. There are 3 games like Vampire Survivors that I've played this year that I absolutely loved. The other one, I am looking for Soulstone. There it is, Soulstone Survivors. All right, so Soulstone Survivors is also in the Loved It category. Wonderful game. Again, plays similar genre to Vamp Survivors. And I keep comparing things to Vamp Survivors because I think most people know what that is. But Soulstone Survivors is, this is what the graphics look like, but it run around, you level up and you get different abilities, and you could be like, save this one for next level, give me this one now, or you like, lock this out, I never want to see this again, and then give me the next thing. And there's a massive talent tree on here as well that gives you different stuff. But very fun game. I have played it until I unlocked not everything, but a lot of the stuff on here. I've played 53 hours so far. The music in the game is absolutely incredible, and it has something I very much love in these type of games, is an endless mode, where the mobs just get stronger and stronger and stronger, and you go as far as you can and see how long you can last. See how far your build can push. I love that crap. So Soulstone Survivors, definitely loved it. Do recommend it if that sounds up your alley. So yeah, Soulstone Survivors, God of Weapons, and Halls of Torment. Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn is not a new game. I believe Grim Dawn came out in 2016. However, after playing Diablo 4, I was in the mood to play a good action RPG. And I spent the next couple of months in my free time playing a lot of Last Epoch, Path of Exile, and Grim Dawn. And Grim Dawn, despite coming out in 2016, I have 671 hours in. The game that I played the most as a streamer before Guild Wars 2 was actually Grim Dawn, and is an awesome game. For anyone who's never played it, it uses the double class system that Guild Wars 1 had, where you pick 2 classes. The last playthrough I was doing, I was a hybrid of Shaman and Necromancer. So I was summoning lots of undead and then buffing them with nature magic like a support so that they would just do lots of killing for me. Like I had really dumb party members. It was wonderful. There is a simple talent tree that you can put points into, and then there's an advanced talent tree, this thing right here. If you want to use that, they can make your character stronger. It's the kind of game where you can focus all your power into making one skill obscenely powerful, or you can, use like 10 different skills and, make like a class that does a whole bunch of different things. Wonderful game. Do recommend if you like ARPGs. It's currently $7.49. It is very, very good. Is Grim Dawn or PoE better? Now, first of all, Grim Dawn, I'm actually going to put this in S tier. Because as I said, I've played over 600 hours of it. It is an awesome game. Okay. Let's see. Grounded. Grounded? Man, I'm going to say loved it. Grounded. Sublime! Sublime. Yeah, it was Sublime. Grounded is a survival game, and I played it on my own, and then I played the whole thing through with my son, and then we played the whole thing through again on a higher difficulty. Grounded is a game that is all of it's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids plus Valheim, for anyone not familiar with that. I've got 143 hours so far. I did a review video for this game, but it's basically you wake up, you've been shrunk, and you're trying to survive in this yard. And basically, everything is massive compared to you. The ants are bigger than you are. Here's a sandbox right here. The sandbox is like the desert, so you need extra hydration to survive there. You get like, heat stroke, stuff like that. You're trying to figure out who shrunk you, why, and it's got a pretty, you can build, as you saw, there was a huge like castle there. It's got a really good story. Like they're not just like, oh, you got small, haha, how did that happen? They're actually there's a story that explains everything, and it's pretty good. I have a review video for that, and of course the whole thing's on Mukluk Plays. But yeah, Grounded was a good game, and also it was fun to play with family, so definitely putting that in the loved it category. Guilt. Guilt was a game I played for Halloween. Guilt was an interesting one. It was right here. It was a rather short game. It took about 5 hours to finish it. You play this girl, and she's looking for her cousin, who's a younger girl who is missing. However, while looking for her, she ends up somehow in a very dark, twisted version of her hometown. But she has seen her little cousin here a few times and is trying to find her. It looks very like M. Night Shyamalan, and it's basically like anything her little cousin was bullied a lot, and anything. So like all of these things are products of her imagination. Like they're basically all the monsters are trying to bully you in different ways. Like it's such a short game. I'm hesitant to say anything because I don't want to spoil it because it's so short. It was pretty cool. It was supposed to be a spooky game for Halloween. Ended up being a cool story. I'm gonna say I finished it and it was fun. All right, Hawthorne. Hawthorne was a spooky game for Halloween yet again. This one was very short. It was a 98-minute long game. It was basically you're supposed to be the night security guard for a school, and there's someone in here with you, and you're trying to figure out who it is and what's going on. It is very old graphics. It's a very short game. It was 98 minutes to finish it. I'll say we finished it. We got one really funny clip out of the game, but it, oh wait, I put it in the wrong category. Finished it fun. There we go. But yeah, I'm gonna say we finished Hawthorne. It was cool. Hi-Fi Rush. I think everybody here knows what Hi-Fi Rush is. Hi-Fi Rush is a rhythm game, but it's not mean to you if you're bad at rhythm games, which is very interesting. The other rhythm game I played, which was Metal Hellsinger. Metal Hellsinger, you could only do things if you clicked them on the beat. Hi-Fi Rush, you could do things off the beat. However, they would be more effective if you did them on the beat. The story was really good. The gameplay was really good. The music was amazing. The sound was great. The graphics were great. There was no like aspect of the game that was weak. It was wonderful, and it's pretty crazy. Just kind of icing on the cake here. They announced this game. They were like, "Oh, hey, here's a trailer for a game. Also, it's out today." And everyone's like, "What?" And that's how they announced it. And it ended up doing amazing. It ended up doing absolutely amazing. So yeah, Hi-Fi Rush was great. Actually, the first review video I did was on Hi-Fi Rush. And yeah, very, very good game. I'm going to say absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Yo, I still have the rot that they sent me. This little creature is called a rot in the game because it's like a forest spirit and it eats like decomposing leaves and stuff like that. So they called it a rot. And also it has toe beans. Look at that. But yeah, Kena was a sponsored stream. I loved this game. It was really good. So just to show what it's like, hold on a sec. I'm going to go to Kena Bridge of Spirits. It took me 11.5 hours to clear it. Oh, really quick. Those are the rots. That's Kena. And you are basically this girl that can see spirits. Now that means dead people, but that also means like forest creatures and stuff, like these cute little rots. You run around and they help you kind of like Pikmin. The more of them that are supporting you, the more power your attacks and moves have. The crazy thing is when you're running around in the open world, it's kind of like Breath of the Wild. But then you get in combat, it's freaking Dark Souls. Like straight up, you've got to be doing parries. Like I was very, very shocked at how it just went from like chill to no chill really fast in the combat. So if you hate Souls-like bosses, I can't recommend Kena to you, but if you're okay with Souls-like boss fights, it was a wonderful game, very cool story, and it had challenging boss fights. As someone who's cleared a handful of Souls games, had challenging boss fights. And the open world in between those boss fights, again, was like Breath of the Wild. You run around, gather materials, lots of, I don't want to say Metroidvania, but kind of. Like, you would get moves where you would go back and then you could access new areas and stuff like that. Yeah, very cool game. I'm going to say loved it. This was another one that started with a sponsored stream for 2 hours and ended up finishing the entire thing. And they also sent some cool swag. They were very nice to the community, like that rot that I just showed. So put that in the loved it category. Layers of Fear. Layers of Fear was a game I had played before. However, it had been a while, so my memory of it was blurry. And also, they released a new chapter, the final chapter of Layers of Fear. Chapter 1 of the game is Guy is trying to make a painting of his no longer alive wife, and it's getting really spooky. It's getting seriously spooky, and there's multiple endings, and it's crazy, and it's a trip. And then there's chapter 2 is you play as the daughter who comes back to the house because she inherits it, and she's an adult now, and she's finding everything that went on there. It's crazy. The chapter 3 is you play the mother up until the point where she died. And you find out her side. That was also a wild, crazy experience. Chapter 4 and 5 felt like they were written by completely different people. One was about a lady in a lighthouse, but the painting was in the lighthouse. I don't know if the painting was haunting her and she was having a rough time of it. And then chapter 5 was this actor thing, and it was so abstract, I could barely follow what was going on. So the new chapter was, the previous ones were scary, and which I don't like, but I play it for my audience. But at the same time, the story was very engaging. So like I liked the dark, grim story, but then chapter 4 and 5, the newer ones, were just like, okay. So I'll put it in finished it, but I would say the first 3 chapters way better than 4th and 5th. Lies of P, the new Souls-like game that is about Pinocchio. And I believe if they make another one, they hinted that it was going to be about Alice in Wonderland. Was it Alice? Because they showed ruby slippers at the end of it. And that's not a spoiler. It was just like it was a hint at another possible game. Lies of P was the game. It's a Souls-like game for any of you who've been under a rock and you didn't see it. But you basically play as Pinocchio. But they never say Pinocchio in the whole game. They call you Geppetto's puppet. And basically, you live in this steampunk world where people use like ruby slippers in that Wizard of Oz. Wait, what did I say? Oh, I said Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, no. Yes, Wizard of Oz. Thank you. Wasn't thinking. You live in this world where people use these machines, like puppets, to do work for them. You know, you might have a janitor puppet or a puppet that goes and gets your mail and stuff like that. And one day, all the machines decide to do an uprising and start killing everybody. Also, there is a disease going through the city called the petrification disease that is turning people to stone. The people that are left are either fighting for their life or going insane, or they're just evil people. And Geppetto's puppet, that's you come to life and you're trying to find out what's going on, one brutal battle at a time, and take these monsters down and save the people that are left. However, you, just like every Dark Souls game, there's certain points in the game where it gives you a choice and you don't even understand really what you're choosing. And it'll be, you can lie or tell the truth. Sometimes it's hard to tell what's lying and what's not, because like someone will be like, oh, do you like my shirt? And you're like, what? Something like that. You don't know if you're lying or not. However, the story was as cryptic as any Souls-like game. The gameplay was a lot of fun. And I would say I went from liking it, and then near the very end, I found a build that just clicked with me. And then I was doing so much better in the late game. And then I went from liking it to loving it. Really, really loving it near the end. So Lies of P, I think I'm going to have to, I would say like the first half of the game was here, but then the second half of the game moved it up to here. It was really, really good. All right, Lords of the Fallen. Lords of the Fallen, I've got such mixed feelings on. There was a lot of small problems with it at launch, and I cleared the whole game at launch, and then I was happy with that, and then I stopped playing it, and I did a review video on it where I went over all these things, and I basically said this looks like a fun game, but I wouldn't buy it unless you see that they fix this and this and this and this and this. I will say that the game overall was fun. I enjoyed the build craft and the customization of my build. Some of the stuff was annoying, like the blacksmith. You have to rescue them before they join your town. I missed them. I found out from a viewer on Twitch, they're like, why do you have level 1 weapons? You're like so far in the game. I'm like, I never found anyone to upgrade them. And they're like, go back to the, go to this YouTube video, it shows you the blacksmith was. And it was in some like side area I had missed at the beginning of the game. So I didn't have a blacksmith. So stuff like that was kind of annoying. There was, I remember another thing, I would say the final boss fight was the biggest depressing letdown of any Souls-like game I've ever played. The final boss fight, I was going in there, I was pumped, I was ready to go, and it was like the boss was monologuing and throwing weak monsters at me, and I was just killing the weak monsters over and over and over while it was telling me about its master plan, and I was hardly able to listen to it because I was fighting a wave of monsters. I was like, can you tell me all this after? And then it just ended, and it's like, you win. You literally never even hit the boss. It was like after you killed 50 level 1 monsters, that's it. That was the final boss. It was so deflating. Like this should not have been the final boss fight. So that really bummed me out. The game up until that point was pretty cool. It had the whole mechanic where you would hold up the lamp and you would be able to go into and out of the spooky side of the world. And hold on real quick for anyone who hasn't seen it. You had this lamp in the game, and it allowed you to essentially interact with a darker version of the world. And sometimes you would be at an area where maybe there's no bridge, and you hold up the lamp, and then you could see a bridge in the other world, and you could cross the bridge. But while you're in the other world, dark spooky stuff tries to attack you. So the longer you're in there, I think after 4 minutes of being in there, like a reaper spawns and starts trying to chase you, which is very difficult to kill. But if you kill it, it's got a lot of loot, stuff like that. So it was a cool Souls-like game. At launch, it had a lot of problems. I don't know if it still does. I'm gonna say I finished it and it was fun. I'm gonna say it was fun because I had a lot of issues with that. Magicka 2. Magicka 2 was an interesting game. Magicka 2, that freaking clip, man. Magicka 2 was a game where they try to teach you programming, but hide it as a magic system. So maybe it'll be like, okay, I'm gonna make up some controls here. It'll be like 1 is earth, 2 is fire, 3 is water, 4 is air. So if you do like, 1, 2, 2, 3, it would be like an earth shield, or 1, 3, 4, 4, 2 would summon a skeleton. So you would learn combinations. And it would, you basically, there was no hotkey for just like click to fireball. Now you would have to be like, 1, 1, 3, 1 to fireball or something like that. And it was very challenging at the beginning. So it was pretty cool. At the beginning, it was very challenging and frustrating because of, having to learn all those inputs. At the end though, it was very satisfying when the boss would start charging something and you'd be like, 1, 1, 1, 4, 3, and then you'd counterspell it, but being able to remember that stuff at the end, it felt really good. It felt really good. So I would say it was a fun game. It started off here and ended here for me. All right, next up, Metal Hellsinger. Very fun rhythm game. I did a review video for that one. Metal Hellsinger was a rhythm game. I would classify it as shorter than Hi-Fi Rush, but a little bit more challenging than Hi-Fi Rush. You literally cannot click off of the beat. You can only do things on the beat. But if you did things on the beat, it was very satisfying. So it was like you're playing Doom, but you could only fire on the beat. So simple game. I actually did not even think I liked heavy metal, but I was rethinking that selection after playing this. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, if you like Doom and you like heavy metal, or you can at least tolerate heavy metal, very fun game, very simple. You play this demon, and they've stolen your voice, and you're trying to get it back. Imagine Ariel, like the Little Mermaid, but with guns, and she's really mad. That's basically it. You're breaking into hell because a demon stole your voice. And when you get like really long, like the better you're doing, the more the music picks up. Which is why game journalists are really confused because the whole game is silent for them. All right, there we go. That's my joke. Okay, so Metal Hellsinger. I would say it was very fun. It was quite fun. We're even gonna put it like way up here, above Valhalla. It was very fun. Okay, Mini Healer. I played Mini Healer for the first time the other day, and we cleared it crazy quickly. 10 hours. So we played it like 2 days, and it was done. Mini Healer, very fun little game, if this is your type of thing. This is clearly inspired by people who have done raids in MMOs. Now here's the deal. You play a healer, there is a tank, there is a melee DPS, a berserker, and there is a ranged DPS archer. You don't control them, except you can hit tab to select what the group is focus firing. That's it. Other than that, you do the mechanics. So you're healing the health bars, and you have some equipment. You can deal with equipment of the party in between different rounds, and there's different boss mechanics. So right here, this is a good example of the talent tree. You can choose what type of healer you're going to be. There's a druid talent tree that's all about heal over time. There's a priest talent tree that's about shields, like power word shield or barrier, depending on your game of choice. There's a paladin tree that's all about like casting, full health bar. Massive single target heals. And there was an occultist tree that was all about like blood magic and stuff like that. Like you lose health, but you'll gain a massive amount of health instantly, and also you'll get buffs and stuff like that. And you could do hybrid builds and things like that. Additionally, there were different boss mechanics. So some of it might be like the boss is trying to mana burn the healer, or there might be like a targeting thing that is fired at the healer, and you need to make sure you're not standing on another party member, or else you'll kill them and you. There was tank swapping on one boss fight. You got an extra button that swapped between the berserker and the tank on who was the tank, and you needed to swap on who gets hit, because if someone got hit twice in a row, they would die. These little spirits coming in, if you let them hit the boss would berserk and do more damage but take more damage, but if you click on a spirit, you would kill it. So you would need to choose, do I want to let this happen or not? These guys, one of them would freeze you, one of them would burn you, but the abilities canceled out. So every single boss had a mechanic that I was able to recognize, like, oh my god, this is from the fight in Karazhan in World of Warcraft, or oh god, this is the same as the Onyxia fight, or whatever. So it's in this simplified sprite form, but it's clearly inspired by someone who's studied many boss fights in MMOs over the years and turned it into this game. And can you do it while being the healer and being the one doing the mechanics while your party is just brain dead attacking, which basically is like playing an actual healer in an MMO. It's very fun. I would put it in Loved It, but it's an early access, so to be fair, I'm going to put it here. Once you clear all the bosses in the game, which again took me about 10 hours, you unlock 2 different infinite modes. One is you just take your high-level character that you've got and go down a dungeon and go as far as you can until you break. And the other one is a roguelite mode, where you start again at like level 0 with a new character, and then each time you beat a room, you get a new ability unlock and you go as far as you can. But you might get a bad ability, you might get good luck or bad luck, and then if you die, you have to start over. So that's roguelike mode, obviously. So yeah, I would put this in Loved It, maybe even Hooked, but I'm gonna put it there because it's early access. Nitro Racing. Nitro Racing, this again, this was a sponsored stream. Oh, that's right, they had a standalone client, it wasn't on Steam. It was a sponsored stream. We did this for, I think like 1 hour. I'm just gonna say it was fun. This is mainly a game that you play with your Twitch chat in between other games. It's fun for what it is. Everyone in chat who types like join, they'll get a race car in the game with their name on it. It's kind of like the marbles on stream thing, except it's like watching Mario Kart. Everyone's slamming into each other and dropping banana peels and stuff like that. But it's done with simple Twitch commands. So for what it is, which was a free game, it was fun, but it's not something you would do like a dedicated 5-hour gaming session. You would kind of just do it in between other things. Noita. Another game we played for Mutiny Monday. Noita is a game where once again, it tries to trick you into learning programming. Noita is something where you play, it's this little 2D sprite game, but you picked up different magics and you can combine them in a million different ways. And as you can see here, and the game, like, look at this. Depending on what you put in these slots and the order of what you put them in these slots, they're going to do different things. And it was very, very, yeah, and this guy just killed himself because he just made like a shotgun. And now this guy is whizzing concrete There's so much going on here. So I made substantial progress, but I certainly didn't get clear of everything. It was fun. Chat. It also had great chat integration. We had to turn certain things off because there were certain things, like one of the chat things that they could do was like every time you fire, you will fire a nuclear missile, and it would actually just literally, the nuke would just blow up and kill me even if I was 5 screens away. So if I was already in the middle of firing and chat did that vote, I just died. I died, they died, we all died. So there were certain things we had to disable because chat was absolutely ruthless. But fun little game, very big brain for what it looks like. But I'm gonna say did not finish it, but it was fun. It's just a Mutiny Monday Madness game. Noob. The full name of this game was Noob the Factionless, but it shows up on Steam as its French name, Noob Les Sans Factions. We played 27 hours of this. Again, I was sponsored to play 2 hours. I was like, this is kind of cool. I'm going to play it to the end, and I'm going to keep going. And it's a very interesting take on the genre. It is a game where you play as 4 gamers who want to do esports, but you control them in the same way that you would control characters like playing an old Final Fantasy game. You know, you control 4 of them, you move around, stuff like that. Sometimes you're playing them in the real world, and sometimes you're playing them in the game that they're playing, which is what you see on the screen. And it was pretty fun. It's turn-based combat. Again, it's like old Final Fantasy games. It's turn-based. You control 4 people, go back and forth. And however, it was very important to remember you are playing people who are playing a game. Sometimes they will make a decision without consulting you. Like when they first choose their classes at the beginning of the game, they pick their class, think like they pick warrior, but you can choose how it's spec'd, if it's an offensive warrior, a defensive warrior, whatever. It was a pretty cool premise. However, I literally could not finish the game because it was crashing. I did a review video. I had the developer actually posted on the video. It was like, hey, sorry, you're dealing with this. If you're interested, you might be able to fix it by changing this and this and this and this and this. And the thing is, I was having fun, but I wasn't like, woo, noob. So I just, politely liked the comment, but I didn't want to fiddle with all that. So I'll say I didn't finish it, but it was fun. But I didn't love it so much that I wanted to go and mess with a whole bunch of crap in order to try to get it working when it was not working. Octopath Traveler 2. I did a review video for this one, a positive one. Fantastic game. Octopath had incredible... So Octopath Traveler was a game, again, 2-hour stream. I played it for 63 hours. These companies that hire me for these sponsored streams, they are getting their money's worth out of me. This game runs what they call HD 2D, high definition 2D environment. If you can see it on the screen right now. And this is the first thing that really drew me in. The graphics of this game are so, I don't even know the word for it, engaging. They really hook me in. For a game that's 2D sprites, it has no right to look this good. That's what I'm trying to say. But basically the Octopath, 8, Octo is 8, obviously. There's 8 people, and you choose one of them to play, and then over time you meet the others, and then you play their story, and then they all meet up, and then you're controlling the whole party. Compelling, that's a good word. Now, one of them was like, there's this priest, Temenos. He is trying to, he's an inquisitor, and he's trying to solve crimes, and sometimes time will slow down, and in his head it's like, Sherlock Holmes picking things apart. The wizard guy is essentially he's in jail for the murder of his family, and he did not murder his family. So he is trying to break out of jail, and then he is trying to find the person who did kill his family, and he is trying to get revenge on them. The story was so good. The story was very, very good. I enjoyed it quite a lot. Again, you get a lot of playtime. I got 63 hours out of it, and I just finished the main story. There is like after credits content, and I didn't even do that. So this was really, really good, very charming. I will remember that forever. Music was amazing. The graphics were fantastic. The gameplay was fun. If you're into those turn-based games, again, like Fire Emblem, old Final Fantasy games, this could be right up your alley. So I'm going to say it was absolutely fun. I'm honestly torn between loved it and fun, I'd probably put it in very high fun tier. Orcs Must Die 3. Orcs Must Die 3, there was one day, I forget what I was playing. I had just finished something and I wanted to do something else, and I was looking at my Steam list. I was like, you know, I've had this for a while. I want to play it. It's very similar to Dungeon Defenders. Orcs Must Die 3 is a game where you play as a person who is defending an objective, a crystal, a door, whatever, and you know, the orcs and ogres and stuff like that are coming through, and you make traps. And then the traps will clear as many of them as they possibly can, and then you are, you know, basically running around and fighting among your traps and trying to take out the one, you know, the stragglers that your traps are not able to kill, and take out as many as you can until you either win the game or you break. And so, yeah, similar, same type of idea as Dungeon Defenders, but it's just a different game. It was very, very fun, very stupid, cheesy humor at the same time, but I had a lot of fun playing it. It took me 8.5 hours to clear it. But yeah, I'm going to say finished it, and it was fun. Path of Exile. Path of Exile, I have got at least 1 or 2 hours. Hang on. 1,681 hours. I was close. Of gameplay in that game. Now, back when Path of Exile had like 3 acts in the game, and Piety was the last boss, I cleared it. When it had 5 acts, I cleared it. When it had 10, I cleared it. When they had maps, when they started, after like Elder and Shaper got added, I never cleared it again. Not from that point on. I have so many hours played, and I love it. I can't clear it anymore. It's gotten to the point, there are some things about it I don't like. For example, the trade system in that game is atrocious. You have to like find what you want, open up an external website, go, you know, find, do a search for the thing you want, find someone who has it, send them a whisper in game, see if they're available. They're probably AFK. Find the second best item, message them, they're on a map. They say, wait 10 minutes. You have to wait 10 minutes for them to become available, meet them in town, do the trade. And it's a pain. So I never do trading in that game because I did it one league and it was so awful. I was like, I'll just have worse gear. I'd rather have worse gear than do this again. So I don't like the trade system in that game. There is a very, very high skill ceiling in that game. I don't like copying builds in games like this. I like to just kind of figure it out. And that gets me pretty far. In the latest league, I got to level 89 and I was in like tier 15, tier 16 maps. And I had max resistances. All my skill gems were max level. Their quality was max level. I had 6 links. I was getting 1 shot. And my stuff was taking like 10 minutes to kill anything. And I was just like, I don't know how to get any stronger than this. I don't. Now, I could have gone and copied a build, but at that point, to me, that loses the satisfaction, so I would rather play a different game. Now, that's not to say I didn't enjoy the many tens of hours it took me to get to level 89, so I would still say I loved that. But there, you know, it's not a perfect ARPG for me. But at the same time, there are some people who love the sheer depth, and it's no secret that Path of Exile related build channels do very well for themselves on YouTube. So I'm not saying they need to change anything. I'm just saying that it gets to that point, and then I just kind of hit a wall. So I'm gonna say I love it. But it's like an almost perfect ARPG for me. You know, one of the things I'm looking forward to most for Path of Exile 2 is they said you'll be able to use WASD to move your character. So you can use WASD to move and mouse to aim, which means you can move left and shoot right at the same time. That's how the controls are in the Rift Breaker. But current Path of Exile doesn't allow that. Most ARPGs I play right now don't allow that. So I'm really looking forward to that. Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2, a Patreon member, sponsored me. They basically did the hijack the stream for one day to make me play Psychonauts. I loved it so much I finished the whole game. I didn't know what to expect looking at this, chat. This looks like Nickelodeon to me. I did not know what to expect of this. You look at the graphics, there's this weird toad-looking child running around. This was incredible. This was absolutely incredible. The voice actors for Invader Zim and Gur are both in this game. This kid that you're watching right now, he basically, if he sees a problem that someone's having, he can project his mind into their mind and try to help them from in there. So all this crazy stuff you're seeing, for the most part, is in people's minds. And that's why he calls it psychonaut. So like sometimes he might find a connection between greed, like the emotion of greed and the idea of money, and that connection makes someone a compulsive gambler. And so he's trying to sever the connection, but then there will be some massive boss that represents greed in there, and he has to defeat that and then get that. And it's absolutely crazy. It was a wild ride, and I loved every second of it. At some point, I need to go back and play the first Psychonauts because I never played that one. I was like, do I need to play the first one before I play the second one? They're like, no. It'll give you a little bit of backstory, but it's not required. But I loved the second one. So now I'm thinking about playing the first one just because I love the second one. So very, very fun game. Very much enjoyed it. Wonderful story, and the gameplay was fun at the same time. I'm going to put it there. Raft. Raft is a survival game similar to games like Valheim. And of course, it's on a raft. I've done a video where I reviewed Raft. It is, I'll pull up a video here while I'm talking. But as you can imagine, you're on a little raft. There's debris floating by, like it's like the world has flooded, and it's almost like Waterworld, the movie, if any of you saw that. And you use that debris, things like milk cartons. You use those to make more flotation devices for the bottom of the raft to make more platforms. Sometimes you enter shallow areas where you can go get like rocks and stuff and use those. This shark, Bruce, he constantly badgers you. Eventually, you go up a tech tree to the point where you can make a radio, and you can find where different radio signals are coming from, and you can find different areas that are still above water, and you can just make your raft larger and larger and larger until it's basically like a floating city. But yeah, you find little islands and things like that. And essentially the goal is to find a place to call home. Find a place that still has people and supplies and call it home. And until then, you're basically making a home that floats. But it was a very fun game. I played through it. Me and my son played it for Father's Day. And then we continued playing it outside of stream until we finished it. All the episodes are on the Mukluk Plays YouTube channel if you want to see that. I will say it was a lot of fun. Me and Boy enjoyed it all the way to the end. Raid Shadow Legends. I did not realize I ever opened this category on Twitch this year. I don't know if I did that as a misclick or a joke. It is true. I have said this before in the past that Raid Shadow Legends has sponsored my stream like 4 or 5 times. They treated us very well. If you have any temptation to open the store in a video game, I do not recommend touching it with a 10-foot pole. That said, if you like strategy games and you can completely ignore the store, it is, for me, it's fun, third monitor content. I almost always have it on another monitor. It's more about like planning out something and then sending the characters you've carefully built off to go fight, something like that. They're not sponsoring me right now. I'm not trying to get you to play it. I'm just saying I enjoy it as a little third monitor strategy game that I just dabble in from time to time. I do not recommend it if you're a person who cannot fight temptation. They do have predatory monetization. I can ignore it. I can just not look at that. But if we actually have a group of people that still play it in the Discord community from back when I did the sponsored streams, because I did thousands of dollars worth of giveaways because of those sponsored things. Also, we still have a pair of the Mukluk underpants as part of one of the promotions. Look at that, wizard hats. It says right on the butt crack, and you might want me to explain the existence of this item, and I declined to do that. So Raid Shadow Legends, I'll say it's fun. I dabble with it on my other monitor. It's not like a main game or anything like that. I didn't even realize it was on this list. Next up, Remnant 2. Remnant 2. I did not play Remnant 1. Remnant 2 is like Dark Souls, except it's easier than Dark Souls because you've got a mucking gun. And I gotta say, it's a whole lot easier to run away from a boss shooting at it than it is to stay, underneath its kneecaps and try to not get stomped on. I would say among Souls-like games, Remnant 2 is one of the easiest ones I've ever played. It was very fun, though. It has a multi-class system, similar to Guild Wars 1, again, because of my audience, I'll make that comparison. I played, what did I play? A combination, I think I forget what it was called. One of the guys had a pet dog, and you could have the dog switch between offense and defense and support, where it would try to revive people and things like that. I had it set to support, and I was playing like a support character with the group, but you could like whistle and the dog would like pounce and try to knock down an enemy and stuff like that. And then I multi-spec into summoner, which would summon these like weak demons that would temporarily distract enemies for you and things like that. Anyway, very fun game. If you like that sort of thing, I do recommend the boss fight in Remnant 2. I won't say what it was, but I'll say it was one of those moments in gaming that I'll remember forever. The final boss in Remnant 2 was absolutely... Oh, there's the dog person. Was absolutely amazing. Like, I will not forget that fight, but I will not say what it was. But if you want to see what it was, you can check the final episodes of the Remnant 2 playlist on my YouTube channel. Okay, so we will put that in definitely fun. Resident Evil 4. Now, Resident Evil 4 is an old game, but they did a remake of it this year, so it's all new and shiny and nice. And you can play as Leon and get back into the nitty-gritty of things. Now, Resident Evil 4, the fourth evil resident, if you will. I had not played it before, so I was like, okay, well, you know, it's around Halloween, we need more spooky games for October. Let's play RE4. I tried it out. It was fine. I finished it. You know, it's got the usual jankiness of a Resident Evil game. You know, you're playing Leon, but he turns like he's a freaking boat. You know, he gets stuck on things constantly. You're fumbling with your inventory half the time. Anytime he needs healing, he like snorts drugs, and that somehow gets his health back. I think he was faking it. And it was fine. The story was cool. I played it through to the end. It was neat. That's really all I have to say about it. I'm just gonna put it and finished it. Played it for Halloween. It was all right. And that's basically it for me. Risk of Rain Returns. Risk of Rain Returns was a game I did a sponsored stream for. I was sponsored to play 2 hours, and I played 2 hours of it. That does not mean it was bad in any fashion. I would say it was a fun game, but I was just playing other games at that time that were more fun. So I played the 2 hours, and then I just never got around to opening it again. But you can see what it is right here. It's kind of a redo of the first Risk of Rain game, is my understanding. Whereas Risk of Rain 2 is like 3D, this one's 2D, but it has all of the same types of mechanics where like you level up, you get stronger, but if you die, you have to start all over. So it's a bit of a roguelike too. But it was a fun game. So I'm gonna file this under. Didn't finish it, but it was fun. Next up is Scorn. Scorn was a game that we played for, again, sponsored stream. I was paid to play 2 hours of it. I finished the game, which was only 4.5 hours. It wasn't that long. Scorn was a very interesting and unique game. It has no dialogue. The storytelling is entirely just figure it out, and man, ain't that gross. So it's really hard to tell you about this game because the whole thing is just like you're like look at that weapon. It's just like a jackhammer or something, and you've got you got extra arms that are killing you, and you're riding a living subway, and I don't want this to get demonetized by YouTube, so I'm gonna stop that there. But it was just, yeah, the baby smoothie. No, I will not be explaining that. The whole game is just you wake up in a gross wasteland with gross machines made out of gross things, and you're also gross and maybe naked, and good luck to you. And you got to figure out what's going on. So it's an interesting game, and at the end, you know, it's one of those things where at the very end you find a you go to Google and you're like, can someone explain this to me? Because you're like, I have no, like, okay, I've beaten the game. I see what happened. What happened? So we Googled the ending and tried to find other people's interpretations of the ending. But I'll say it was very memorable because it was just I mean, it wasn't silent. There's a lot of ooey gooey noises, but there was no talking. There was no dialogue. You don't read or like, you know, hear anything. Just the whole thing was environmental storytelling. So I would say, I'm just gonna say we finished that one. Did not hate it, didn't love it either. It was just a trip. It was just a trip. Okay. Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars, once again, a game that we were sponsored to play 2 hours of. And because I am an overachiever, I played 28. And we finished the whole base game. Sea of Stars is, again, similar to Fire Emblem, old Final Fantasy games, things like that. You control a party. You start out with just these 2 people. They were born on the solstice. One, the blue hair is the moon, and he's the sun. They have different abilities. One of the coolest abilities in the game, I think they show it at some point during this trailer. There's their other friend, Garl, best character in the game. Let's see, there's the assassin. Give me a second. Music in this game is really good too. This. All right, see this? She fires this thing called a moonerang. She can perfect parry it. So she shoots it at an enemy and she perfect parries it, it'll hit another enemy and she could perfect parry it again and it gets faster each time. With perfect reaction, you could perfect parry it over 20 times. And it is so satisfying. But at first it's just like parry, 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 and then you're just beating the key at that point and hoping it works out. But yeah, I've gotten over like 20 or 30 perfect parries on it before, and it's just like bing, 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 and it's just bouncing between you and the enemy and just ripping them to shreds. It's very satisfying. Now, you don't have to be able to do that. It's a great game even without that. The storytelling was amazing. I know I've said that multiple times today, but that's because I play good games. Muck you. The storytelling in this game was amazing. The gameplay was good. Like, I would say this, if the storytelling was a 10, the gameplay was an 8. It was fine. It was a fun, cute little game. I've got a full review video on it if you wish to watch that. But that's kind of the 60 seconds gist of the game. It was enjoyable. There is end game content after the credits. I finished it up till the credits, then decided to stop there. Honestly, just for my audience, because I stream both as a job and for fun. For my audience wasn't super into it. I would say like I just got less viewers when I was playing that. So I finished like I got to like hour 10 on stream, and then I did like the next 18 hours off stream and just put recorded episodes up on my second channel, and then just decided to stop when I hit the end credits. There is more content after that though. Very cool game if you're interested in that type of genre. Would recommend it if you're into that. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. All right, these games, oh man, very mixed feelings. Okay, Jedi Fallen Order, very fun game. It's a Souls-like game. It's Star Wars, has some very famous voice actors in it. Let's see, Fallen Order, you play as this guy who, just like 1,000 other Jedi, survived Order 66. And he's trying to stay alive and hide the fact that he's a Jedi. Until one day, and what I'm telling you is in the first 10 minutes of the game, he uses the Force in order to save a friend who is falling. And that triggers an alert because apparently they have radars for that or something, I don't know. And the dark side people, who vastly outnumber the Jedi at this point in the story, show up to try to hunt him down. And he ends up, he's having to train to become a Jedi to live. Like, he doesn't want to. He's like, F this life. And that makes him very relatable. But he ends up, going through and trying to live, stuff like that. This game was great. I actually loved it. It was a Star Wars game, but by the end, when you get really into, like, the combat system, you actually felt like a Jedi. Like, you're fighting the boss, and it's like, okay, I can parry that, I can parry that, I can dodge that, I can dodge that, can't interrupt this Force, and you make them stagger for a second, and then you get a few hits in, you go back on the defensive. Like, you would build up a rhythm. Like, if they do A, I do B. If they do C, I do D. If they do E, I push them in the face with the Force. It was really, really fun as all these mechanics came together. That was Fallen Order. Survivor was plagued by one of the worst launches I've ever seen. Okay, anything negative to say? Cup, it's time for what you've been waiting for. When Jedi Survivor launched, it was in a nearly unplayable state for over 50% of the people who reviewed the game on Steam, which bombarded it with negative reviews. It was so bad that EA issued an apology letter, which I don't even know how to feel about at this point. For those of us that could play the game, we saw broken tooltips, climactic moments ruined by seizuring NPCs, floating poncho pixels, warped clothing, interactables through walls, enemies firing through other enemies to hit you. Every time I used the holo table to travel, my computer fans began spinning so fast, Elon Musk wanted to use it for the next mission to Mars. Even in the final boss fight, which I won't show for spoiler reasons, I had a couple of attempts end by me and the boss falling through the floor. There were also 3 mini games added to this game. One. All right, I think that's enough to get the point across. The point is, the game, the Survivor, when I played it, I finished it. I finished it. I'm just gonna say I finished it. Fallen Order was great. I'm just gonna say I finished Survivor. It had so many problems. The mission to Mars thing gets me every time. Dude, I swear, every time I open the mission table, I thought the stream was crashing. Like, my computer would just, and then like the camera would go into a slideshow. I don't know what it was. That mission table would kill my computer. Starfield. I think it says a lot about the game that I don't see anyone on Twitter thirsting over any Starfield characters. I'm seeing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 thirst. I think you can measure how successful a game is by how thirsty the internet is for that game. I have not seen any Starfield thirst. Like, Starfield is a desert. If many worlds, they're all deserts. So, Starfield. I wanted to get into it. A very kind viewer bought me the game, and I was like, oh, you know, I am interested in trying the game, thank you. And I tried it out. I played Morrowind, I played Oblivion, I played Skyrim. I went into Starfield, and there was some of the mechanics of moving around, stuff like that. I don't know, it just didn't click. I just wasn't having fun. I really couldn't put my finger on it. I will say, at one point, I had to do a planet survey. I went to a planet, and I had to run around and scan every creature and every plant in order to catalog the planet. And I couldn't find the last thing. I was running around for over an hour. Chat's like, oh, it's in the ocean. So I had to land near the ocean, but you can't click on the ocean to land near the ocean. You have to click on the land near the ocean. And if you don't pixel perfect get it on the beach, you don't land in an area with beach. It doesn't generate an area with beach. There's no beach, no beaches. And finally I land near the beach. I'm like, okay. And they're like, yeah, now you got to swim. And I just swim for like 30 minutes to find a fish that I hadn't scanned. And I finally scan it, and I get the planet cataloged. And then I turn in the quest, and it gave me like 50 XP, which is like killing a bandit. And I was like, why did I do this? This was so boring. This was 2 hours of boring. And I look it up, and you know, Starfield, the team was just like, oh, yeah, some of the planets are boring because, or sorry, not boring. Some of the planets are empty because in real life, some planets are empty. And it's just like, yeah, but real life sucks. That's why we play games, you idiot. Like, what are you doing? Why are some of the... So I literally cataloged a planet one time. That one time that involved chasing fish for like 2 hours. I was like, never again. It was absolutely awful. So that part I hated. And then the last part that I played it, I remember I finished this quest called the Mantis, and I got a new starship and a new legendary set of armor. I should have been on Cloud 9, chat. I should have been so hyped to continue the game. That was the last time I logged in. I logged out with a brand new starship and a brand new set of legendary armor, and I was just like, man, I don't even want to open it up again. I don't know, it was just so boring. I couldn't, it was just so boring. It was so boring. So, yeah, I'm gonna say I couldn't finish it. I played quite a bit of it. Let me get an exact count here. I played 18 hours. I couldn't go any further than that. Just the systems overall were bleh. On a completely unrelated note, did you see how disappointed Todd Howard looked at the Game Awards? That was kind of funny. All right, Stranded Alien Dawn. So Stranded Alien Dawn was a game where I was sponsored to play 2 hours of it. However, they laced it with something because 264 hours later, I still can't put this game down. This game is so freaking good. It's 3D RimWorld. If any of you haven't seen it, it's 3D RimWorld. You basically, you make a colony, you got to deal with a colony simulator stuff, you got to deal with, is it too hot, is it too cold, do they have food, do they have medicine, do they have a shelter for when it's snowing, or do they have frostbite, and then the Zerg attack you from time to time, and you got to deal, do they have, actually pants are completely optional, that's fine, but yeah, you got to deal with this stuff, and they keep adding updates, and every one of them is an absolute banger. They are all, like, this one, they added freaking mech warriors in this update. What? So it's like, yeah, we're stranded on a planet. We got 2 sticks. Let's make a mech warrior. Excuse me? Yeah, it was so good. Do recommend. And you know what? This is going to be 2 years in a row. One of the games that I'm putting in S tier. Because I can't put it down. It's so good. Every time there's an update, I do a new playthrough of the whole game on the hardest difficulty. And yeah, it's also doing very well on my second channel. Fun fact, among the games that I've done review videos for, excuse me, that game's review video is doing the best out of all of them. It is doing very, very well. And one guy's a bit psychotic and likes to put sick people in the fermentation barrels. We don't talk about that. Styx, Master of Shadows. All right. Styx was a very interesting... Styx Master of Shadows. I still need to play part 2 of it, which is... Oh, there's my review video. I still need to play Shards of Darkness. Styx is about a rude, crude, lewd piece of pre-chewed food dude, Goblin.
I was born in a dried-up lake bed. It was a big, dead tree. Dozens of my kind crawling around like rats. But I wasn't like them. My vision blurred. I don't know what happened before that.
All right, I don't know. Anyway, it's a stealth game where you play a very rude, crude, trash-talking, goblin-like creature named Styx. You sneak around, you assassinate people. He has a few unique powers from this thing called the Amber. He can use it to kind of like spit out some goo and it will form into a clone of him, which can distract a guard and stuff like that. But he is a very interesting story. The gameplay element was a stealth game. You know, it was sneak past or murder past a bunch of guys and get to an objective. Every mission was basically that. Sometimes the mission was get to a location to continue the story. Sometimes it was like get to a lever or, you know, take out a certain enemy, assassinate somebody, stuff like that. It was pretty cool. I'm not even that into stealth games. I enjoy them from time to time, but Styx was definitely a fun game. The writing made it even better. Oh, that's the wrong category. Finished it fun is what I'm looking for. The writing was really good. And like the gameplay was fun and the writing was fun. You know, he reacts as I think a normal person would react in most situations. Like someone will be like, all right, you're gonna need to go here and do here and then pull this lever and do a little dance. And he'll be like, this is bullshit. Like, are you effing kidding me? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I would say. That's spot on. So yeah, this is basically what Gollum would have been if the game was good, if you're interested in that. So yeah, and I still haven't played the second one. I want to. First game was great though. Summer of 58. Summer of 58 is, once again, we're looking at games I played during October for spooky time. This game took me 80 minutes to clear it. This game, I mean, it was an October game. It's a spooky game. You're a YouTuber, which are just the worst of people. By the way, like and subscribe if you would, please. You are a YouTuber who you decide that you are going to go into this school where people died or something, and you are going to record a video of you staying overnight there because that's a good freaking idea. And yeah, really bad stuff happens while you're there. It's a very short adventure about a school where bad stuff happened in the past, and now you're poking the beehive, so bad stuff's happening again. It was about 80 minutes long. It was spooky. It definitely made me jump and squeal like a very masculine man a couple times. I'm going to say finished it though, just because I don't like horror games. But if you're looking for 80 minutes of spooky, yeah, you could do that. Tales of Berseria. Oh boy, Tales of Berseria is a weeaboo game. I was sponsored by a patron to play it for one night, which is, they basically pay me for 5 hours stream. What? Why am I getting a giant Shugo here? What the heck? I am not clicking on whatever that is. Anyway, so Shugo sponsored me to play 5 hours of it. I ended up playing the whole thing for 45 hours. It was all right. Apparently, I don't really understand how this fits into the Tales of the Borderlands series, but, what do I know? I'm not a writer. But it's another game that plays like Final Fantasy and Fire Emblem and stuff like that. It's turn-based, but at the same time, you play this lady that has, very ripped up clothes because, that's the only way to contain her power or something like that. The storytelling was all right. Some of it was really cheesy. Some of it was, power of friendship, but it wasn't so cheesy that, like, no one ever died. You know, that's like a big thing in some of the cheesy animes is just like literally no one ever dies. This one, you know, like loss was a risk. That was something that could happen. The story was pretty good. I played it all the way to the end, and this is something that is very outside the realm of what I normally played. Now, I have not been so tempted by this to then go play the next games in the series, but as far as bang for your buck, you get a lot of playtime for one purchase. You know, again, it took me like 45 hours to clear the thing. So I'm gonna say finished it. I'm gonna put it. It was fun. I'm gonna put it at like lower B tier for me. But it was fun. It was above C tier. What is this? Oh, this is the Terminator thing. Okay, so this isn't fair to include this. I did a sponsored stream one day where Terminator Dark. What is it called? Hold on. Terminator Dark Fate. Terminator Dark Fate is an RTS game that's coming out, and they sponsored a bunch of people to basically show their community the broadcast where they were showing off their game's beta footage and what was coming soon. And I like RTSs. Not many people know that. I don't claim to be amazing at them, but I enjoy them. I played Warcraft 1, 2, 3, StarCraft 1 and 2, Total Annihilation, Supreme Commander, Command & Conquer Red Alert, Tiberian Sun, and a bunch of others. I like RTSs. So I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'll check it out. So it was cool, but it's not a game that I've played. It's not out yet. We watched a broadcast about it. So I'm just gonna leave the Terminator Dark Fate button down there. Last Spell. I loved it. Last Spell was amazing. Once again, I did a review video for it. There it is right there. Last Spell is a game that is...
Welcome to the last...
he's going to be talking, so I'll turn that down. It is turn-based, and you control these little characters. There is so much variety. Like, the map is slightly different each time. The characters are different each time. It's like there's a huge pool of features that they can have, and then it'll pulls from that pool, and so they're slightly different every time. You know, maybe they're good with one-hand weapons, maybe they're good with magic, maybe they're ambidextrous. There was one time I actually had 3 heroes on a map, and 2 of them spawned in with 1 arm. So between my 3 heroes, I had 4 arms to defend my village, and I'm not bitter about that at all. It was extremely difficult. You couldn't use 2-handed weapons, can't use shields, you got 1 fucking arm. So yeah, by the way, shout out to my 1-arm viewers. I've got low intensity guides if you need them. I'm just talking about Last Spell right now. Anyway, the game is awesome. The premise is basically, a bunch of stupid mages, freaking mages, hate mages. They did magic nuclear war, and there's not many people left alive, and the people that died from magic nuclear war are these undead that are shambling toward the living. Now, the remaining mages have found that they can solve this problem by casting the Last Spell, which is essentially, it will delete all magic from the world if they can get this off. So there's a bunch of mages, kind of like a nexus or a core in the middle of your base, that are trying to cast this, and you got to survive until, turn 10 or turn 20, whatever the objective is for that map, in order for them to cast the spell, which deletes magic from that area, and then all the monsters drop to the ground lifeless. However, there's so much variety. Each day you have a certain amount of resources, and you can use that to build more walls or build more production. If the production stays alive, it gives you additional, maybe like a blacksmith might make a new suit of armor each day that the blacksmith is undestroyed, because the monsters will be trying to destroy everything. You can make ballistas that help you fight. You can buy items from the shop instead of spending your money on buildings, and use the items to equip your heroes. You can buy more heroes, but they'll have less equipment than if you bought more equipment. So there's so many different ways that you can do this, and the heroes themselves have massive talent trees, and it's just a very fun game. Incredible music, really, really good. And oh yeah, this was the animated trailer. But yeah, it's awesome game. I would love to see it get the recognition it deserves. I don't think it has yet. I am going to definitely put this in the loved it category. Absolutely loved it. The Mortuary Assistant. Mortuary Assistant was another game that we played for Halloween. Now, Mortuary Assistant is it's what it sounds like. So, mortuaries, of course, where people go to get ready to be like buried in the ground or have a live what is it called? Not live. Open casket funeral, things like that. And you work there on the night shift all by yourself because that's fine. And so you're working there and you basically get bodies that come in and you have to treat them. And it'll be things like, plug this tube in, drain all the fluids. You tape the eyelids shut so that they don't open their eyes mysteriously, and then suddenly the body flies out of the room. And you're like, what's going on? And then you turn around and it's back and stuff like that. So basically things start going bump in the night. It's a spooky place. You're trying to figure out what, and you're surrounded by dead people, which just makes things worse. It's a horror game. I finished it. I got through it. I did it for Halloween. I don't want to talk about it. Okay, if you like spooky, you're gonna love that. The Rift Breaker. Oh boy. I actually found out. We were talking about Sully Gnome. Let me show you guys something. Rift Breaker. If I click on Guild Wars 2, just to show you guys something, this is the most watched streamers in the Guild Wars 2 category in the last year. As you can see, I'm up there. Your boy Teapot in the #1 slot. Very firm #1 spot. Lorenity catching up to me. These are the top streamers of Guild Wars 2. I'm most known in that category. But here's something that is pretty wild. If I click on Rift Breaker, I found out the day before yesterday, I'm apparently the #1 Rift Breaker streamer, and it's not even close. That's insane. Exor Studios is the company that makes the game, by the way. This guy has a lot of viewers. However, he only streamed it for 4 hours. I think he just did a sponsored stream or something like that. So I'm apparently the #1 Rift Breaker streamer and the #3 Guild Wars 2 streamer, which is kind of cool. But we play Rift Breaker every single Monday, and we do what's called Mutiny Monday. And Rift Breaker has a thing where every couple of minutes it does a vote in chat. It'll be like, press A if you want to drop a tornado on him, press B to steal his money, C to break his kneecaps, and Flute Girl's like C, 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 and everyone does a vote and it adds it up and it will do whatever. On top of that, there is a console in the game, so I can just be like, spawn 5 tornadoes on me or whatever. And we usually do like 1 sub is 1 disaster. So if someone gives 5 subs and then it's like, give me 1 earthquake, 1 volcanic rock rain, 1 ion storm, a tornado on your head, an attack from the east, and a Diet Coke. And I'm just like, okay. And I've gotten really good at the game because I'm suffering through that constantly. But yeah, I pay my bills via Mutiny Mondays, and it's gotten really good. But yeah, I actually joined the Rift Breaker Discord. This is it right here, Exor Studios. And I introduced myself the other night after finding out that I was like really, I was like the top Rift Breaker streamer. I was like, hey, just introducing myself. I love your product. If I can help you guys with any community events or anything, dude, look, hit me up. So they're all on Christmas break right now, but I don't know, maybe something happened. But it's kind of cool just to know that big fish, small pond situation. Like, it's kind of cool to know that how much we've streamed in that other category. I didn't even realize it. But yeah, Rift Breaker, S tier. If anyone has no idea what this is, Rift Breaker is a game that is like they tried to combine an RTS and an action RPG, and they actually did a good mucking job. You play the game, you make a base, but then you also control this bot. And while you're controlling the bot, left click is your left arm, right click is your right arm. Now, you can have the same weapon on both arms, or you can have different weapons on different arms, like left click sword, right click machine gun, or nuclear launcher and ice gun, or flamethrower and giant hammer, or fist, or giant spears. And there's different maps. You can see them here. There's lava maps and acid maps and radioactive deserts and just normal tropical maps, which are the most balanced ones. And there's lots of different things that you can do. And then again, there's base building is a very strong component as well. And it's a very, very solid base building thing. I have got, how much do I have in this? 291 hours. I love this game. I'm constantly looking for new challenges. At this point, we've beaten the game with 500% more monsters. We're currently playing it on double monster damage, 5 times gravity. So when I'm like, I throw a grenade, I'm like, and the grenade goes like 2 feet because the gravity is so high right now. We're looking for any excuse to play it again because we're having so much fun playing it. It's really, really good. But yeah, so S tier, I can't put it down. We play it every single week, and apparently I've been doing a lot in that category, and I didn't even realize it. They Are Billions. They Are Billions was a game that came out not in the last year, but I had the itch to play it again in the last year, and we played it. And I did like half of it on brutal, and then I had to turn it from brutal down to hard mode for the second half because I could not beat the second half. And apparently beating the final level on brutal, it's just like, First of all, the game doesn't let you just save and reload. If you fail a mission, you got to restart it from the beginning. So it'd be like, replay hours of stuff each time you fail. So They Are Billions is a game where you basically everyone in the world except a few cities are zombies, and you're trying to expand. So it's an RTS sort of, but if one zombie gets into one of your houses and that house had 4 people in it, then 5 zombies come out. So the biggest risk is like the area where your houses are. If literally one guy gets in, it makes a chain reaction, and within like 10 to 15 seconds, you are going to end up with hundreds or even thousands of zombies that are storming your base from the inside out. And usually it's game over at that point. If they get into your residential area, which is your gold producing area, there's so much population in there, and the zombie bite spreads like wildfire. And the map can actually handle tens of thousands of units on the map attacking you at the same time. And it does not lag. Like, it's extremely impressive. You see that was a great example right there. See this farm? So like the zombies break the farm. Instantly, there's another 20 zombies. Every building that gets basically eaten or destroyed by these things becomes more zombies. And so it gets out of control really fast, but very fun little RTS, very enjoyable. That's the town hall building. If that gets destroyed, you lose and have to start that level over. But we ended up playing it through the whole game again, just recently. And I'm absolutely going to say I loved it. Titanfall 2, permission to post a game trailer. Permission granted. I'm not going to watch it right now though. Titanfall 2. I had some people like, you got to play this, you got to play this, you got to play this. And I was like, all right, look, I'm not really interested in playing the multiplayer of this. I'll play, does it have a campaign? They're like, yes. So I played the campaign. Chad, I was shocked. It's so good. Oh my God. It's so good. Like, there is this one part I will never forget where I was going through it, and it's like, you play this guy, and this robot's trying to keep you safe. You see he's like blocking bullets. Sometimes you ride in the robot. Sometimes he literally throws you. They call it like the fastball special or something. And then you're going through, and there's this one part you get this device that lets you jump in time, and you're in a building, and you're traveling through it, and you get to a section that's collapsed. You go back in time when it was like a ruined building. You go back in time to a part where the building was fine and it's populated, and now you're an intruder. And people are trying to stop you, and you're like, you disarm this guy, block this guy, someone tries to shoot at you, you jump back to the future, and now there's like a velociraptor attacking you, and then you get to the other side, and then you go back in time and shoot the guy in the back of the head that was aiming at you a second ago, and you're like bouncing all over the place, and in the future you're finding records of them like screaming as some guy is teleporting all over the place, which you find out is you, and it was insane. Like, it was such a short campaign. God, it was like 4 hours of gameplay in the campaign, and it was so good. Like, I've heard stories about how they really dropped the ball at the launch and people didn't really get into it and they didn't get funding to continue, and now I understand. But, oh my God, like, if you get the chance to play the story of this, just the story mode, at least, it's got multiplayer too. I have no experience in it. I didn't try it. I didn't even care. But the single player campaign was so memorable. It was so memorable. So I am going to say it was very, very fun. I'm going to put it up here. I didn't love it so much that I did multiple playthroughs, but my God, it was a good one playthrough. V Rising. V Rising, most people know what that is. It's a survival type game like Valheim, but you're a vampire. And it uses a top-down camera mode like action RPGs. It was pretty cool. I played it after they did the latest update. Gloom, what was it? Gloom something? Hang on a sec. V Rising. What was it? It was Gloomhaven? I think it was Gloomhaven. But V Rising came out with a new update. It was pretty cool. I tried it out. Noxxi, the Noxian, hosted a server that I joined, and we played that. And a couple things about the game. V Rising, unless they've changed it, I do not recommend playing it single player on your own computer, because sometimes you'll start like a research project and it says it'll finish in 10 hours, but the game has to be open for 10 hours. So you need to join a server where the server is always up. So even when you close the game, the timers are progressing. Otherwise, you have to leave the game open for 10 hours. Gloomhaven is a board game, has digital version. Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something else. But in any case, oh, this is still in early access? I thought this was done. I don't know if it's still that way. Secrets of Gloomrot. Okay, thank you. So I played the game. Secrets of Gloomrot added a bunch of new bosses, added a new magic type and new stuff like that. It was fun. I cleared all the bosses, and then 3 new ones that were intended for multiplayer spawned, and it warns you of that. I killed 2 of the 3 intended for multiplayer. The last one I was doing attempts on. Now, remember, this is a game on a server, so I couldn't just reload. I couldn't so every time I died and failed a boss, I had to do a very long run back to try it again, which is annoying because sometimes it'd be daytime and the sun would burn you. So getting back to do additional boss attempts was a pain. So you get back and then you try it, and then my gear broke. I spent a few hours trying the final boss and my gear broke, and then I realized I needed to go farm glass for like 30 minutes, then go to this lightning field with glass bottles, capture lightning and charged jars, and then use that back in town to be able to repair my amulet to get its durability back up to where it would give me my stats again so that I could then do more attempts on the final boss. I had to basically go do an hour plus of farming to do more attempts on the final boss. And I was like, I'm not having so much fun that I'm willing to do that. So after Gloomrot came out, I cleared the whole game except the final boss fight, but it was intended for being fought by multiple people. I did see some YouTube videos of people soloing it. They were doing incredible gaming. I did not do that. You gave up on Adam? Yeah, I never killed Adam. I never killed Adam solo. My gear was all broken, and I was like, all right, I'm done. But it was fun. It was fun, and it was something intended for multiplayer that I never finished. So I'm just going to say I'm going to put that, or I guess it did. Well, no, it's early access. I guess I'll put it in early access, but I would say I would put that in fun. Okay, next one, Vampire Survivors. I think everyone knows what Vampire Survivors is, but just to be thorough here, Vampire Survivors is a game that is a couple dollars and has no right to be as fun as it is for a game where all you do is press ASDF. That's it. It's a very simple game. It is not the first game of this genre, but it is the game that blew up in this genre, and it's inspired lots of other games. However, after playing Vampire Survivors, I was greatly motivated to try out other games similar to Vampire Survivors. And that's how I ended up playing God of Weapons, Soulstone Survivors, and Halls of Torment. And ever since playing God of Weapons, Halls of Torment, and Soulstone Survivors, I will say I never opened Vampire Survivors again. So I did like it. It was fun. I loved those others a bit more. Those were really, really, really good in my eyes. Viewfinder. Viewfinder is a game where you have a camera, and God, it's really hard to explain. Yeah, hold on, I'll pull up a video here. It is a game where it's all about perspective. So if you take this and you say there's like an open gap here, okay, and then he takes a picture of the floor, and then holds the picture up to the open gap, and then it just stays there, and you can get across. So it's a puzzle game. It's been a while. And you go through it, and you basically it's like Superliminal. You basically take pictures of things and then put them in a place, and then it becomes part of the world, and you use that to get through the world. So like right here, there's a gate in the way. He takes a picture of open air, and then he puts it over the gate, and then there's a hole in the wall, and then he can jump through. Stuff like that. So this was a very neat little puzzle game. Yeah, all that stuff just falls. However, it was quite short. I cleared the whole game, including every single bonus level, in 4.2 hours. So the only negative thing I would really say about it, and I got a review video on that one, is it was not very long. But yeah, it was fun, but I wish the game had been longer. Darktide. Darktide's a fun game. I would say Darktide, it had a poor launch. It could have been better. And they kept adding stuff to the store instead of fixing the game's problems or adding the things that the game advertised it was going to have at launch. So they got a lot of negative feedback, and they were like, okay, yeah, sorry, we messed up. And then they started doing better and adding more stuff to the game. I played it again just recently because they did a new update where they added all the talent trees and stuff, which was awesome. Really, really liked it. I really only play Psyker in that game. However, I still like playing Vermintide 2 more for two reasons. One, there's a scoreboard at the end, so you can see like who did the most headshots, who killed the most specials, who killed the most elites, who did the most damage, who saved people the most times, who did the most healing. I love that scoreboard. And the second thing is Twitch integration. Vermintide 2 has Twitch integration. My community freaking loves that. Darktide doesn't have either of those things. So for those reasons, I do find Darktide fun. I still like playing it from time to time. Vermintide 2 is still better in my eyes because of that. And here's Vermintide 2. We were just talking about that. So I'm gonna put it in. I love it. I usually just play this when I'm doing collabs with other streamers. Lately, I've been doing it with Loranity and Noxxi and ShyPatch. Very fun game. Very much enjoy it. And it's cool to see, like, okay, you know, oh man, you know, Laura did way more damage than me on this one, which never happens. But I got way more headshots, which is cool. So she did more boss damage. I got more little kills, stuff like that. It's really cool seeing the scores, the stats and stuff at the end. Warhammer Realms of Ruin, Age of Sigmar. That's actually the most recent review video I did. There it is right there. I put googly eyes on the orc. And it was a very cool game. It is the first Warhammer game, well, I guess aside from Vermintide's not Age of Sigmar. It's the first Age of Sigmar game I played. The story is definitely the best part. The gameplay is that of a very mediocre RTS. Let me give you an example. When your units engage in melee combat, they are locked in. You cannot micro them at all. They are fighting to the death unless you hit the retreat button, in which case they will run all the way back to the start of the map. Even if you have a base closer, they will run in a straight line, even if that means running through enemy camps, to the start of the map. So there was quite a few negative things I could say. Overall, it was a fun game, but I very much played it all the way to the end because the story was so good. I wanted to see what's going to happen next. The cinematic cutscenes, the conversations were so freaking good. And it's basically the Age of Sigmar, Sigmarines versus the orcs was most of it. But occasionally you would experience flashbacks where you played Tzeentch people and you were fighting against, I don't know what they're called, but it's basically undead. But yeah, it was a cool game. It was fun. But it was because of the story, not because of the gameplay in my eyes. I tried to give it a very fair review, though. I was very critical of like what it did well and what it didn't. So I'm going to say I finished it, just to kind of balance out those two big things. What is an S tier so far? Guild Wars 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Grim Dawn, Stranded Alien Dawn, and Riftbreaker for me. Let's see. Wizard with a Gun. Wizard with a Gun is an interesting little roguelike. It's the end of the world just ended, and you are able to keep going back in time and relive the last 5 minutes of the end of the world. And each time, you try to gather more and more resources. And you use these resources to advance your technology, to make electric bullets, ice bullets, mind control bullets, vine-growing bullets, all kinds of crazy stuff. And you use this stuff to improve your chances to the next time, to try to figure out why the world's ending and stop it. And these wizards have been trying to do this for, like, from their perspective, hundreds of years. And some of them are just going insane. They're like giving up. But essentially they're combining magic and the power of Murica to take out these monsters and do different things. It's like that was an ice bullet there and stuff like that. But this is like a little cinematic thing. The actual gameplay, it kind of looks like Cult of the Lamb when you're playing it. Like it's a top-down, move-around thing. Just basically get as much resources and new research and technology as you can and bring it back to your wizard tower before the world ends again. And then do it over and over. And as your research progresses, you can go further back in time, which allows you to essentially access more of the world before it was destroyed. So the available map gets larger, which is a really cool concept. I loved the concept. It was not nearly as just two-dimensional as I thought the story was going to be. It actually had a really solid little story. It was a cute little game. It took me 12 hours to clear the whole thing, but they have said that they are adding more to it. I don't recall if this one is early access or not. No, it's not early access, but they have said they're adding more to it. So I'm going to put Wizard with a Gun in. It was fun. It was a fun game. It was a fun game. Wild Hearts. Wild Hearts was, of course, a game that's like Monster Hunter. I'm not even a huge Monster Hunter fan. I played Monster Hunter World. Why am I typing in Monster Hunter? I played Monster Hunter World. I played it all the way to the end, and it was fine. And then I never really had the urge to open the game again. It's just not a game that's, crack to me. It's just not that good. I enjoyed it enough to finish it, but not to play more than that. Wild Hearts added a building mechanic, and it had similar stuff to Magicka, where you would remember certain combinations, like QQ, and then it would make like a wall right as an enemy was charging you, and it would bounce off the wall. Or you would make like a giant ballista that would fire one shot, stuff like that. So it was Monster Hunter with occasional, bursts of Fortnite stuff. Like you can see this right here. And honestly, it was really cool. I don't recognize that. This was added in an update after I played. I don't remember, firing a Beyblade at people. But the game was pretty neat. It did have a lot of you see mixed reviews. It had a lot of glitches and stuff at launch. So it had some problems. I would say overall, very cool game. If they get all the problems fixed, I think it's an excellent addition to that genre. I think the building mechanic was done well. And it's just a matter of them like ironing out all the little problems that happened with the launch of the game. But again, I'm not a diehard fan of Monster Hunter, so it's a matter of whether or not other people are going to be into it. But for me, personally, I'm going to say I finished it and it was fun. I did clear all the content that was available at the launch. I just had no desire to just do it over and over and over afterward. Last one. I say this for last because I wasn't really sure, because I have not finished this because I'm in the middle of playing this. Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. Now, Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader is currently the game I'm doing during my morning streams other than Guild Wars Tuesday. Now, Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader is a CRPG. Oh my god, what's happening? And Nate, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. That's Vampire Survivors music, by the way. Yo, you jump scared me a little bit. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the support. I'll read those off in a bit, but I do thank you very much. Rogue Trader is a classic RPG, similar to Baldur's Gate 3. It is made by Owlcat Games, the same company that made Pathfinder Kingmaker and Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. And it is their first game in the Warhammer universe. So, let me see if it'll let me full screen without bugging. So, praise the Emperor, death to the heretics, that's heresy, you need to be shot, stuff like that. It is really freaking cool. I very much enjoying this game. I love it. You play as what is called a rogue trader. A rogue trader is basically someone who has I think it's called a writ of trade, and you are allowed to trade with anyone if it enhances the Imperium. If it helps the humanity, you're allowed to bend the rules. So you're as this, what in the heck am I looking at? I have not seen this scene yet. I have not seen that scene. However, you basically start out as, you become this rogue trader and this person that controls many planets. However, the warp way, basically, if you don't know Warhammer at all, I'm going to try to explain this in a way that you would understand it. The wormholes or fast travel method that humanity uses gets scrambled. Trade routes are messed up. People can no longer just fast travel from one star system to another. You've got to remap them out. So you are rich beyond your wildest imagination right out the get-go, but you're cut off from all the stuff that you've got. So you're trying to reestablish these connections, rebuild the trade routes. You're fighting a whole lot of heresy. Every time you fast travel, again, for those who don't know the Warhammer universe, you step into hell, and then you move like a mile, and then you step out of hell, and you've moved like 10 miles. So it's kind of like like in Minecraft when you go through the Nether portal and then pop out, and you've moved a very long distance. Except, of course, anytime you dip into hell for a second, the demons are like, hey, yo, it's me, your boy. And, so there's fighting a whole lot of them every time you travel. So that's basically the thing. But it's a classic RPG. There's a lot of storytelling. It's not Baldur's Gate 3, so it's there's a lot of times when people have a conversation and it's just in text and you read it. What you see here is what the game looks like. This is gameplay footage. This it is a turn-based RPG where you move people, you get behind cover. The combat, a lot of people have said this looks a little bit like XCOM, which they're not wrong. It does have some similarities to something like that, but I don't think it is as bad in terms of like unfairness. XCOM has the whole thing, 99% chance to hit, you miss, you die, stuff like that. It's not that bad. Like there's, for example, like the guy that you just saw right there was firing a bolter. I found a charm that's like when you're using a bolter, as long as you don't have it on full auto, which is just one shot, you will always hit. So you can get some stuff to take the RNG elements out of it, but there are fights you can completely avoid. There was a fight I did this morning where there was a prison uprising, and I was able to use my persuasion, and I basically told half of the prisoners, like, if you guys join me and fight them, I'll give you full pardons. And we convinced half of them to turn on their friends, which made the fight a whole lot easier for us. And then afterward, I had the option of just saying I lied, shooting them. I didn't do that, though. I was the good boy. But I had the option. There's always an evil or there's like a good, indifferent, evil, or eviler option for everything in this franchise. So loving the game. In the middle of it, I'm currently 48 hours in. Still got more to do. As far as where would I rate this, I would say I'm not done with it. But it is, this sounds like I've put it down, which is not true. So I'm going to say it's very high B tier. Like right now, it's looking like it might be between loved it and finished it. The only negative thing I can say about Rogue Trader is it does, if you've ever heard the phrase, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Like, drowns you in information at some points. Like, as an example, when you hit level 4, you get to choose a talent. There was like 60 or 80 options. Now, you don't want to pick the wrong one. You want to make a good choice. So you're sitting there for the next 15 minutes reading 60 to 80 talents. Like, there's a overwhelming selection really fast. Now, in the dialogue, it's pretty good. Like, anytime they reference something, often the word will be bold, and you can mouse over it, and the little tooltip will pop up, and it'll be like, oh, this is about the Emperor, or whatever. And so people that have never played Warhammer, it does a pretty good job of giving you tooltips that explain the generality of what is going on in the Warhammer franchise. I will say, for any of you, what's his name? Is it Bricky? Yeah, so this guy, if any of you decide to play one of these Warhammer games that I'm recommending, this guy is how there's a car. This guy is how I learned about most of what I know about Warhammer. This guy, basically, 8.4 million views. Bricky, like this. He has videos giving you kind of like the rundown of how the universe operates. Nice legs, by the way. And it's really, really informative and also very entertaining at the same time. So he makes time fly by while watching that. But yeah, so that is where I put that. And that's it. So again, this one was not a game. This was just a category we dipped into. And that was 2023. Oh my God. Yes. So that is, in my opinion, just for me, the rating of these games for the last year. I did say Guild Wars 2 maybe fell to bottom of S tier for me this year because PvP imbalance for the last like 6 months. They need to do something about that. Talking about the future, 2024, Grim Dawn is getting an expansion. 2024, Titan Quest 2 is coming out. 2024, Guild Wars 2 has got the next update for Soto. I'm looking forward to that. March 22nd, Dragon's Dogma 2 comes out. In 2024, I can also look forward to Frostpunk 2, Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong any day now, Beyond All Reason, Stormgate, Last Epoch, and maybe Industrial Annihilation. I am looking forward to all those. And also, I'm sure that there's 100 other games I'm going to play between now and then. But yeah, these are my selection. These are my selection. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. that's my thoughts on the games that I have played this year. And if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, leave a comment down below. I'm curious to see if your thoughts on these games lines up with mine. And I'll see you next year.